Chapter 593. Feng Xiao, who was standing in the corner, was in a daze. She looked at Luo Qingchun in disbelief. Snowflakes fell on her shoulders, but her white sweater was not stained with any paint. It was as if the fight just now was like a king torturing a noob. Everyone looked at each other, then looked at the two people on the ground and decided to retreat. However, Gu Ting took out a stack of money and threw it towards the sky. If you guys beat her to death, this money will be yours. In any case, Gu Ting was the daughter of the Gu family. She had some money and was pretty, but her breasts were especially big. At this moment, her face was red and her expression was extremely sinister. So many people were surrounding a little slut, but she was still standing in front of her safe and sound. Looking at her arrogant appearance, she wanted to go up and tear her mouth apart. The group of people took a deep breath and desperately charged in Luo Qingchun's direction, charging forward. Her eyes trembled slightly, and she jumped back. Then, she leaped up and kicked the group of people clockwise. Ouch! In the next second, everyone fell to the ground in pain and wailed. When she kicked people, she specifically kicked 3 inches below the ribs. It was the most painful part of the ribs. If she used a bit more strength, the ribs would pierce through the lungs. You. At this moment, Gu Ting was completely flustered. She staggered back 2 steps and trembled as she muttered, "You, don't come." Why was it that this person in front of her looked so innocent and harmless? But when she took action, her heart trembled. It was not that she had never seen a big scene before. She had even seen knives being used to chop people, but this was the first time she had seen a first-year high school girl take down more than 10 people. Moreover, it was effortless. Luo Qingchun clapped her hands as a faint light flashed in her eyes. She walked towards Gu Ting, step by step. I'm warning you. I am the daughter of the Gu family. If you touch me, my father will not let a commoner like you off. Gu Ting had already retreated to the door. She was afraid that Luo Qingchun would escape, so she had locked the door. Now, this lock had become the key to her escape. Isn't it a little too late to be afraid now? She narrowed her cold eyes. Her gaze was lazy but firm. For some reason, Gu Ting felt fear in her heart. It was as if a demon was walking towards her step by step. In the next second, her legs went soft and she sat down. At the same time, a skinny girl stood up shakily. When Luo Qingchun kicked her just now, she saw that she was a weak girl. In order to avoid death, she was a little gentler. However, it never occurred to him that being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to himself. In an instant, she picked up the stick on the ground and attacked Feng Xiao from behind. Then, she pressed the stick against Feng Xiao's neck and said in a trembling voice, "Let us go, or I'll." Luo Qingchun's originally lazy, half-squinted eyes suddenly became extremely sharp at this moment. The moment she turned her eyes, her thin lips and teeth softly said, "What will you do?" Her gaze was extremely dangerous, and her entire body was emitting a coldness that made people tremble. The skinny girl staggered back. Feng Xiao's throat was tightly choked by her, and her face was a little red. It was all her fault. She was unable to help Luo Qingchun and even dragged her down. Chapter 594. At the same time, Luo Qingchun didn't go to math class because he didn't want to. After playing basketball for half the class, he returned to the classroom. He came up from another flight of stairs and wanted to see if she was secretly talking to Su Mu behind his back. He never thought that she wouldn't be in Class B. Look, it's young Master Qian. So handsome. He's so handsome holding a basketball. Su Mu knit his brows and slowly looked up, meeting Luo Qingchun's dark eyes. Luo Qingchun was a bit anxious as he asked Su Mu through the glass, "Where is she?" Su Mu knit his brows in worry before finally shaking his head. He thought that Luo Qingchun and Feng Xiao went out with Luo Qingchun, so they didn't come to class. Now it seemed like it wasn't the case. Luo Qingchun knit his brows before taking out his phone to call Luo Qingchun. He never thought that her phone would be turned off the entire time. "Damn!" He angrily roared out before saying to Liang Zi behind him, "Use all the connections in the school, no matter which class, find Luo Qingchun for me." After that, he headed in the direction of the head teacher's office. Yes, yes, yes. Liangzi made a few calls while following Luo Qianjia. Behind him, 7 or 8 of his lackeys who played basketball with him hurriedly followed. Su Mu, sitting in the classroom, knit his brows. He wanted to move his feet, but he took them back. In the end, he didn't stand up. Young Master Qian, a second-year friend of mine, said something. The big sisters of their grade surrounded 2 girls in the hallway, and one of them seemed to be called Qingchen. They're simply seeking death. Luo Qianjia heard this and tightly knit his brows. His entire body was tense as he ran to the second-year building. He was very fast, using a 100-meter dash to throw off the people behind him. Standing in front of the Grade 2 building, he raised his eyebrows slightly and looked up, just in time to see 2 figures near the railing. This is bad. He took a deep breath and ran to the top floor without another word as his heart wildly beat. He didn't get a clear view of the situation just now, but it should be a person holding another person hostage as they kept retreating. He ran to the top floor as fast as he could, but he couldn't open the door. Damn it! He roared in a low voice. He took 2 steps back and kicked the door open with all his might. The door shook heavily, but it didn't open. Instead, his toes bled a little because he used too much force. At this moment, Gu Tinger, who was paralyzed on the ground, was scared out of her wits because of the loud sound. She shook her head with all her might and said with trembling lips, "Don't hit me. Don't hit me." Luo Qingchen saw that she was so scared that she almost went crazy. She didn't want to pay attention to her at all. Instead, she turned around and walked toward the skinny girl. The skinny girl looked very scared, but her mind was clear. She howled, "Can you let me go? It's not my fault. I didn't hit you. It's all Gu Tinger's fault. Gu Tinger asked me to come." She moved back while crying. Luo Qingchen knit her brows when she saw the large words behind her. She bit her lip and said, "Don't move back." No wonder there was paint here. The railing on the top floor should have been damaged. It shouldn't have been fixed yet. There were a few large words behind it. "Do not approach." The skinny girl was scared by Luo Qingchen. She pushed Feng Xiao to the side and charged towards the door. Chapter 595. Feng Xiao. Luo Qingchen's left hand tightly grabbed her as she fell, and her body was pulled down by her inertia. In the blink of an eye, she forcefully grabbed the railing. "Ah!" Feng Xiao's cries of surprise made Luo Qingchen slightly knit her brows. If she was alone, she could naturally use teleportation to escape. But now that Feng Xiao was here, what should she do? Hold on tight. She bit her lip and tried to calm her down. Pong! At the same time, the door to the top floor was finally opened by Luo Qianjia. His right foot was covered in blood as he stepped on the snow. Drop by drop, the blood stained the white snow. But he didn't care at all as he wildly charged at Luo Qingchen, tightly grabbing her hand. Luo Qianjia. She felt that, at that moment, he was like a prince that suddenly appeared against the light. At the most dangerous moment, he tightly held her hand. "Hold on tight for me." Although his voice was an irresistible order, one could hear a trace of trembling in it. He was afraid, and he was very afraid. "Young Master Qian, come and help." A group of people came forward and slowly pulled Luo Qingchen up. As her other hand was holding Feng Xiao tightly, the 2 of them were finally out of harm's way. When she felt her feet touch the ground, her right hand was suddenly pulled by an overbearing force, and she fell into a warm embrace. She was completely stunned. She wanted to struggle, but she found that the other side was holding her even tighter, not giving her any space to break free. Luo Qianjia, there are many people watching. She bit her lip, and her face turned red in embarrassment. Although, when she was in his embrace, she felt an unprecedented sense of safety and warmth. "Sorry." After a while, his slightly trembling voice sounded in her ears as his hands held her even tighter. "Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. At that moment, Luo Qingchen suddenly felt extreme pain for this person in front of her. He really liked her. He liked her so much that he couldn't help it. "Young Master Qian, how should we deal with these people?" Wang Bin glanced at the people lying on the ground, and a trace of disbelief flashed across his eyes. Luo Qian just seemed to react from his followers' words. He looked at the person on the ground, before looking at Luo Qingshun, who wasn't injured at all. His eyes were stunned before they sparkled. Luo Qingshun looked at his probing eyes. She blinked her eyes and said, "They beat me up first. They ganged up on me. I was just defending myself. Sister-in-law is so good at fighting." Liangzi also looked at Luo Qingshun with admiration and praised, "You're even better than young Master Qian." "What?" Luo Qingshun's face turned red. She looked at Liangzi and said, "What nonsense are you talking about?" Liangzi's face turned white. He looked at Luo Qianzhe and his lips curled into a beautiful curve, looking like he was in a good mood. Then he shouldn't have said anything wrong. Why did Luo Qingshun say that he was speaking nonsense? "All right." Luo Qianzhe narrowed his eyes as he looked at the people on the ground. "Wang Bin, use the S-plan to take care of these people. If you need anything, just say my name." S-plan. When this was said, even Liang Zi was stunned. Chapter 596. "Yes, young Master Qian." Wang Bin replied with a serious nod. "I don't want to see any of them in the Yith Academy." As for the instigator of this matter, his eyes paused before looking at Gu Ting-er, who was lying on the ground not far away. "The Gu family will disappear from S City starting today." Luo Qianzhe's eyes were very serious, so serious that there was a cold look in his eyes. Liangzi replied before looking at the blood on the ground. "Sister-in-law is so strong. There's blood everywhere." "Blood?" Luo Qingshun looked at where Liangzi was looking and said with knitted brows, "It shouldn't be like this. Her moves should at most cause internal injuries. There shouldn't be any external injuries." Her and Liangzi's eyes followed the blood and finally fell onto Luo Qianzhe's feet. There was a large patch of blood under his feet, but he didn't seem to care at all. His eyes had been on Luo Qingshun the entire time. "Qian, young Master Qian, you're injured." "Shut up." He knit his brows. His hands tightly held her arm as he slowly turned her around. Patting here and looking there, he let out a sigh of relief after confirming that she was fine. She really wasn't injured at all. It really scared his soul out of him. "Luo Qianzhe, go to the infirmary." She squatted down and looked at his feet. Because he was wearing shoes, she couldn't see too clearly, but the shoes were soaked, so there should be a lot of blood. She also looked at the door to the top floor. It was clear that it had been seriously damaged by external forces. What kind of action was this to break the door like this? Luo Qianzhe thought about it before a black-bellied gentleness appeared in his eyes. His lips curled into a smile as he said, "All right, but I want to carry you." Luo Qingshun thought that she had heard wrong, but when everyone present made the same surprise sound, she knew that she hadn't heard wrong. Why would he carry her if he was injured? Was there a problem with this person's brain? You don't agree? He casually leaned against the railing and put his hands in his pocket as he said with a pampering gaze, "Then I won't leave." "Luo Qianzhe, don't call me by my full name." "Then what should I call you?" "Call me." He paused. His cheeks were slightly flushed. Snowflakes landed on his chestnut-colored curly hair. It was like a beautiful painting, moving one's soul. Liangzi had a smirk on his face as he chimed in, "Of course she's calling him husband. What the F***ck are you talking about?" Luo Qingshun seriously kicked Liangzi's, but before looking at Luo Qianzhe with an evil smile, "Luo Qianzhe, if you don't obediently go to the infirmary, I'll call Mom." "Stop." Luo Qianzhe came forward and covered her mouth. I'll go, all right." This was too much. She was clearly trying to tell the world that she was his sister. No, she was not his sister. She would never be the best in his heart. In the infirmary, the female doctor was carefully treating the wound. Because he used too much force, Luo Qianzhe's toes were covered in blood. Luo Qingshun, sitting on the side, saw this, and pursed her lips as she slightly knit her brows. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. It must be very painful. But why did the person on the bed not seem afraid at all, as his dark eyes kept falling onto her? Chapter 597. Young Master Qian, although the wound doesn't need stitches, you have to be careful to avoid infection. The female doctor's face was a bit red. This was her first time being this close to Luo Qianzhe, and her heart was beating fast. He softly replied. He looked at Luo Qingshun, who was seriously looking at his wound, and said, "Is my foot better looking than my face?" His tone was very soft, but there was a bit of gentleness to it. It was like it didn't matter how heavily injured he was. As long as she was safe, nothing else mattered. "It hurts a lot, right?" She knit her brows in a bit of annoyance as a faint mist appeared in her eyes. She didn't handle this matter well enough. She shouldn't have shown mercy to that little skinny girl. As expected, if one wasn't ruthless, they wouldn't be able to stand firm. "It's all right." He looked at her and waved his hand. "Come here." The female doctor tactfully left the room and closed the door behind her. There were only the two of them in the infirmary, and there was a faint smell of alcohol in the air. "What?" She sat down beside him, but his hands came around her waist, and he forcefully hugged her as she sat down on the bed. His head moved a bit, and he softly leaned on her shoulder. "I really was scared." She could feel a slight tremor in his voice when he said those words. It was very faint, but she could hear it. Luo Qingshan raised her hand and patted his head with a bit of pain. "Relax, I'm much stronger than you think." If it wasn't for Feng Xiao being held hostage, she could have completely oppressed them, all right? Luo Qianzhi's hands softly hugged her as he said in a very gentle voice, "From this day forth, no one in this school can bully you. Definitely no one. Anyone who dared to touch her, he would make them pay a painful price." The snow outside the window became bigger and bigger, and the cold wind blew. He pulled his arms in and hugged her even tighter. This scene, if others knew that they were brother and sister, how awkward would it be? But if they were a couple, the white school uniform matched their youthful appearance. This scene, how beautiful would it be? Because of Luo Qianzhi's injury, the housekeeper came to pick him up that night. The moment Luo Qingshan sat in his Maserati Spider, he received many envious gazes. No one had ever sat in Luo Qianzhi's car. This transfer student who had just transferred to the Yith University, she was the first one. When he returned to the apartment, the housekeeper wanted to stay and take care of him, but he was chased away by him. Now that they had finally left the school, he could finally be alone with her. Suddenly, an inexplicable light bulb appeared out of nowhere. It was too bright. "Luo Qianzhi, what do you want to eat tonight?" She fiddled around in the kitchen for a bit and found that the previous host didn't know how to cook at all. Should he exchange for the cooking skill? When she was hesitating, Luo Qianzhi had already appeared behind her. His feet were wrapped in a thick layer of gauze, making him look very funny as he walked. "Go take a shower first." He looked at the messy kitchen and said to her, "I don't want to burden my stomach." Luo Qingshan pursed her lips in a depressed manner. This kind of saying that her cooking was bad. It really made her angry. But half an hour later, she thought that Luo Qianzhi was right to have her take a shower, because the fragrance coming from the dining room made her stomach grumble. Chapter 598. Luo Qingchun ran over with bare feet and looked at him in shock as she said, "The young master is cooking. This is unbelievable. You think I'm you?" Luo Qianzhi saw her reach out for the plate and softly tapped the back of her hand with his chopsticks. "It's very hot. I'll take it. Go sit down." She gave a soft laugh and stuck out her tongue before quickly sitting down. Braised hairtail, scrambled eggs with chives, sirloin beef, and radish pork rib soup. 3 dishes and a soup. There were meat and vegetables. Luo Qingshan took a bite and chewed twice before looking at Luo Qianzhi with eyes of admiration. "This is definitely the most shocking thing for me this year. There is no other." His lips curled into a faint smile as his ears turned a bit red. He always wanted her to see his dazzling appearance, but now he received this kind of gaze because of cooking. Although it was very unexpected, it was very warm. "Eat more if it's delicious." He put some meat in her bowl. "Otherwise I won't feel anything when I hug you." Luo Qingshan ate a piece of meat with a dissatisfied look before narrowing her eyes. What do you mean by not feeling anything? He wasn't satisfied with her. She couldn't keep living like this. "No." Luo Qianzhi reached out to pinch her face that was covered in rice. "Anyway, you just need to eat a bit fatter. You're ugly when you're thin." "You think I'm ugly?" Luo Qingshan ate a few mouthfuls of rice and drank a few mouthfuls of soup. She put down her chopsticks and stood up to look at him. "You're the ugly one. Your entire family is ugly." As soon as her voice fell, she turned to walk towards the sofa. Suddenly, there was a magnetic laugh that came from behind her. She knit her brows as she thought of something and became even angrier. They were a family. Wasn't she accidentally talking about herself? Why did she feel like she was being bullied, so angry? Luo Qianzhi didn't like washing dishes, so he went into the kitchen after eating, waiting for the cleaner to come tomorrow. When he went to take a shower, Luo Qianzhi had already fallen asleep on the sofa watching a soap opera. He knit his brows and walked to her side to touch her face, instantly feeling that it was very cold. In the next second, he picked her up in his arms. Luo Qianzhi woke up subconsciously and hurriedly said, Put me down. It's bad enough that you didn't cover yourself with a blanket when you fell asleep, but you even turned off the heater. There was a hint of reproach in his tone. What if you catch a cold? It didn't matter if she didn't care about herself, but didn't she know that he would? I'm in good health. I've never caught a cold. Luo Qianzhi struggled a little and said, Put me down quickly. Your foot is still injured. How could this person be like this? He was clearly injured, yet he still liked to hug her. That better be the case. Otherwise, I'll carry you around the school 3 times. He snorted arrogantly and slowly put her down. Luo Qianzhi made a face at him mischievously. She walked upstairs and said, No hug, no hug, no hug. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. She had increased affection just by acting cute. Luo Qianzhi really couldn't take it. Luo Qianzhi stood there and seeing her playful appearance, his heart couldn't help skipping a beat. Actually, she didn't know that the only person in this world who could move his heart this easily was her. Other people, no matter how hard they tried, it was impossible. The next morning, when Luo Qianzhi woke up, she was filled with regret for what she said yesterday, because she was very thorough. Chapter 599. She knit her brows, not wanting Luo Qianzhi to know. After all, the first day at school yesterday was already enough of a stir. If he knew, he would either not let her go out today or give her all kinds of special treatment. With the heart of a low-key king, she went to school. She regretted it a bit as soon as she came out. It was snowing heavily today. It was even heavier than yesterday. Sitting in the passenger seat of Luo Qianzhi's car, she closed her eyes and felt like she had no strength at all. Luo Qianzhi knit his brows as a trace of Li Guang flashed in his eyes. He could tell that she wasn't feeling well, but she still dared to come to school. Other than making him worry, what else could this girl do? Are you all right? Luo Qianzhi looked to the side with eyes filled with worry. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at the white light outside the window, suddenly regretting coming out today. After that, she cleared her throat and said, I'm all right. I'm all right. It was very easy to notice that she had a cold. Even if she didn't want to tell him, he still knew. After sitting down in the classroom, she leaned over the table and didn't want to move. She felt that her head was in a daze, and she didn't even want to raise her hand. Feng Xiao turned around and placed a bottle of Yakult on her table. Qianzhi, thank you for yesterday. Luo Qianzhi was a bit surprised. She straightened up and looked at the Yakult on the table as she said with a faint smile, It should be me who dragged you down. Your voice is a bit strange. Do you have a cold? Luo Qianzhi touched her ears out of habit, a bit. Then do you want to ask for leave? Feng Xiao said with a soft snort. It's all because of those people from yesterday. They deserve to be expelled from school. She was a bit surprised as her eyes trembled. They were all expelled? Yes. Feng Xiao looked at her and asked, Young Master Qian is really special to you. It shouldn't be like this. You already know each other. Luo Qianzhi wanted to say something, but Su Mu's cool voice naturally interrupted their conversation. Huh? Feng Xiao looked at her in disbelief. Is this true, damn? Qianzhi, you didn't even tell me. To think that I've been telling you about young Master Qian. Luo Qianzhi raised her eyebrows slightly and looked at Su Mu beside her. He still looked indifferent, and she could not tell whether he was happy or angry. It was probably because he had been used to treating others with indifference for so many years. Even if there were some ripples in his heart, he didn't want others to know. But if it was someone else, he definitely wouldn't have responded, We were junior high school dash. Luo Qingshan hesitated for a long time before giving Feng Xiao a very simple answer. No wonder. Student Luo, we're in the same junior high school. Do you remember me? Ji Haochen saw them chatting so enthusiastically. He walked over and looked at Luo Qingshan with a cheerful smile. Although we're not in the same class, Luo Qingshan seriously frowned and looked at him. I really don't remember. Why did this person appear again? Couldn't he just stop talking to her? Couldn't he tell that she hated him? Did he have to torture her to know fear? Ji Haochen scratched his head awkwardly. Feng Xiao looked at him and blinked. Haochen classmate, don't mind her. Qingshan might not be in a good state today. She wasn't in a bad state. She really didn't like Ji Haochen, okay? Why did Feng Xiao help her with this kind of meaningless explanation? Chapter 600. You still remember my name. Ji Haochen was very surprised as he looked at Feng Xiao and said, I thought that no one knew me. Feng Xiao pursed her lips into a smile. You're thinking too much. There are many people talking about you in private. Right. A girl in glasses in the fourth row turned around and shyly said, Hello, classmate Ji Haochen. Hello. Ji Haochen suddenly felt like he was the center of attention. The haze in his heart disappeared. It seemed like there were many people who were silently paying attention to him. Luo Qingshan gave a soft laugh. She held her chin in her hand and watched this new classmate look's familiar play. The bespectacled girl nudged her, and the two of them moved their chairs to sit next to Ji Haochen. Feng Xiao pouted with an unhappy look on her face. After all, Class B's appearance was too different from Class A's. Other than Su Mu, there weren't many boys in Class B that could be looked at. Adding the fact that Su Mu was a piece of ice, no one in Class B could hit on him. Ji Haochen's appearance created ripples in the hearts of many girls in Class B. Luo Qingshan looked at Feng Xiao in front of her and couldn't help feeling a bit worried. Logically speaking, a character like Xiang Tianqing shouldn't have appeared. After all, the three of them met abroad, and now that she came back early, this person shouldn't exist. But if she didn't appear, the system didn't need to call her the supporting female lead. So, she would still appear. The system has found that the host is becoming smarter. As expected. Feng Xiao. Her throat was a bit sore, but she still patted her shoulder and said, Sometimes what you see on the surface isn't necessarily good. Feng Xiao looked away from Ji Haochen and looked at Luo Qingshan. Qingshan, what did you say? Seeing her like a little girl in love, Luo Qingshan decided to let her experience the love of youth. After all, only by falling down would one know what was right. After the class ended, Luo Qingshan didn't listen to anything because she could feel that her forehead was a bit hot. This is bad. Not only did what she said to Luo Qianji yesterday come true, there was an even more serious development. Feeling extremely uncomfortable, she lay on the table and weakly started a conversation with the system. System, can you send me some fever medicine? The host is becoming more and more stingy. Instead of using his own exchange points to exchange, he wants to exploit the system. Damn, how could he be so petty? Ding, the system is very unwilling to give the host 1 fever medicine and 2 cold medicine. They are in the host's right pocket. Although it was very unwilling, the system couldn't bear to see the host in such pain. Is your medicine effective? Host, you will know once you eat it. Luo Qingshan seriously rolled her eyes at the system. She took out 3 pills from her pocket and swallowed them. He had to admit that the system's medicine was indeed effective. The most important effect was drowsiness. Luo Qingshan took the medicine given to her by the system. During the second class, she was already unconscious. She didn't even know that the teacher had brought in 2 students who had transferred her class. After the bell rang, the teacher tapped the ruler on the podium and looked at the people below, the students in the last row of the 3rd group. Please stand up. You will sit in the last row of the 4th group. Someone will bring in the tables and chairs later. This was a temporary position because there was an important person coming from Class B. The teacher wanted to say something, but Luo Qian had already walked in. The entire class was filled with cheers and shouts. Just by standing there, he became the focus of everyone in Class B. Chapter 601. From this day forth, Classmate young Master Chien is a member of our Class B. The teacher had a smile on her face, as she felt a special sense of pride. After all, Class B couldn't compete with Class A in the past. If they offended Luo Qianjia, she wouldn't be able to keep her iron rice bowl. Whoa! There was a warm applause as the students whispered to each other. Young Master Chien came to our class because of the new transfer student. Of course. Did you hear? Yesterday, the second-year big sister Gu Ting Er brought a group of people to block Luo Qingshun, so she didn't come to school today. Damn! Is this true? She dropped out? Dropped out? I don't think it's that simple. I heard that Gu Ting Er's parents were kneeling at the school gates today. Luo Qingshun was lying on the table as her little head drilled into her arms. It seemed like she heard people talking about Luo Qianjia. It can't be, right? But it was possible since Luo Qianjia's popularity had completely subdued her in just 2 days. It really wasn't a normal kind of high. At this time, Luo Qianjia's eyes were on the girl lying on the table. The sunlight from the snow fell on her body, making her look so beautiful. But her deskmate still didn't look pleasing to the eye. Luo Qianjia didn't care about the cheers and discussions around him at all, as he walked over to the empty seat and sat down. He knit his brows. At first he thought that she was lying down because she didn't look up when she heard his name. But now it seemed like she really was sick. He felt that she was strange this morning. Damn, she still came when she was sick. Could it be that she didn't know how much pain he felt when he saw her sick? Kuh. The teacher cleared her throat to ease the atmosphere before continuing. The next transfer student to our class is an international student from Zurich. Whoa, so beautiful. Damn, what's going on with our class? Handsome men and beautiful women are all coming in. Moreover, they're all male gods and goddesses. They really are beautiful. There's a mixed race feeling. At this moment, the girl who walked and stroked her hair confidently. She had a charming smile on her face as she looked at everyone and said, "Hello, everyone. My name is Xiang Tianqing." At this moment, Luo Qingshun suddenly stood up and looked at the girl on the podium. Su Mu, who was beside her, did not seem to be frightened by her sudden reaction. He looked at her sideways and asked, "What's wrong?" Properly speaking, she should have been excited when Luo Qianjia came in and shouldn't have been excited when this mixed blood girl came out. I'm fine." She narrowed her eyes and looked at Xiang Tianqing, who was on the podium, with a hint of ruthlessness in her eyes. In his mind, the memories of the original owner of the body began to surge. The memories hidden in the depths of his brain were stimulated at this moment. This Xiang Tianqing was a smart, intelligent, and vicious female supporting character. Back then, in order to obtain Jihaochen, she had used many underhanded methods, both on the surface and behind the scenes. She still remembered that once, the original owner and Jihaochen had agreed to go to the library. In order to not let Jihaochen go, Xiang Tianqing deliberately twisted her foot to gain Jihaochen's sympathy. She was like this, breaking the relationship between the original owner and Jihaochen step by step, finally succeeding. Although this was a parallel world, the one who appeared here was her host, Luo Qingshun. Chapter 602. Xiang Tianqing raised her eyebrows proudly and looked around the class. At first, her gaze fell on Jihaochen. Her eyebrows moved slightly, and then she turned to Su Mu. There was a sparkle in her eyes as her eyes stayed on Su Mu for a long time before finally falling onto Luo Qianjia. Those eyes weren't filled with admiration. Rather, it was filled with fervent hope. Luo Qianjia had his hands in his pocket. When he saw Luo Qingshun suddenly sit up when the teacher mentioned the new student's name, he looked over at the podium. At this time, he met Xiang Tianqing's eyes. "Classmate, you can find an empty seat, but young Master Qian's seat." The teacher didn't even finish before Xiang Tianqing walked over to Luo Qianjia. Her voice was very soft as her red lips slightly parted. "Can I sit here? I'm afraid that isn't good." The teacher was very troubled. This transfer student had a strong background, but Luo Qianjia couldn't be offended. "Teacher," he didn't say anything. "No." Luo Qianjia gave a cold snort as his voice was filled with disdain. In the next second, the entire class was filled with gasps and sighs. She wants to hook up with the school hunk on her first day. Isn't she a bit too confident in herself? Who knows? She should be proud of her body. Young Master Qian is also handsome when he rejects people. Please, not everyone can approach young Master Qian, all right? The students in the class were naturally defending their new school hunk. Although Xiang Tianqing received the praise of the boys, it wasn't enough to receive the approval of the girls. In their eyes, there was no one worthy of Luo Qianzhe. Xiang Tianqing's expression was very awkward at this time. The discussion on the side made her lose all face. It had to be known, she was the top student and school flower in Zurich. There wasn't a single boy who didn't fall under her skirt. She had interfered in the love of many people. She had never failed no matter who it was. But now, she had been rejected as soon as she came back to the country. Classmate Xiang can sit here. Ji Hao-chun saw that the atmosphere was a bit awkward and his seat was still empty, so he invited Xiang Tianqing. She bit her lip and said reluctantly, "Since it's empty, why don't you let people sit?" Pong. Luo Qianzhe casually picked up the basketball at his feet and threw it at the glass. In an instant, the glass shards fell on the safety board outside the classroom and shattered all over the floor. Everyone held their breaths and stared, not daring to make the slightest sound. Even a homeroom teacher didn't dare to interrupt for fear of being implicated. Luo Qianzhe narrowed his cold eyes and looked at the pale Xiang Tianqing with narrowed eyes. "It's not your fault that transfer student doesn't know who I am, but you can't be forgiven for talking too much." His tone was very cold, and every word spread out in the silent air. Xiang Tianqing was intimidated by this aura and unconsciously took a step back. She bit her lip and walked back towards Ji Haochen. Luo Qianzhe looked over and met Luo Qingchen's eyes. In the next second, the corners of his mouth curled up. "Come here." His tone was very soft, but the classroom was very quiet. That gentle and pampering voice was completely different from the ice-cold voice from before. Everyone's eyes fell onto Luo Qingchen at that moment. Chapter 603. She calmly turned her head and pretended like she didn't hear anything as she seriously opened her textbook. But she never thought that the teacher's voice would sound out again. "That classmate Luo Qingchen, you can sit next to classmate Qian from now on." The teacher cleared his throat and seriously tried to guess Luo Qianzhe's thoughts. It had to be said, he really was the teacher. His observation skills were different. Luo Qianzhe had one hand on his chin while the other hand was quickly turning the black pen, as his lips curled into an evil, charming smile. It seemed like he had to give this teacher a promotion later. Understanding his thoughts like this, not bad, not bad. Sumu glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. He wanted to say something, but he didn't say it in the end. Luo Qingchen was in a daze. She packed her things and walked in Luo Qianzhe's direction. She shook her head, and it didn't feel that bad anymore. The system's medicine really wasn't bad. At least she finally had a bit of strength. When she sat down, she didn't forget to say to Luo Qianzhe beside her in a low voice, "What are you doing in Class B?" "You already know the answer." His eyebrows moved slightly, and there was a faint warmth in his tone. She didn't respond, because even though the head teacher was already explaining the exercises on the podium, there were still many people looking at the two of them. Because she was Luo Qianzhe's first desk mate. Ding-ling. When the bell rang, Liang Zi, who was already waiting at the door, came in and respectfully handed over a bag. Luo Qianzhe took the bag and said, "Thank you." Liang Zi was stunned as he stood there in a daze, as his ears couldn't help turning red. This was his first time hearing Luo Qianzhe thank him. It seemed like he was in a good mood. "What did you buy?" Luo Qingchen poked her head in, wanting to see the things in the bag since she was a bit hungry. Luo Qianzhe turned over and softly tapped her head with the black pen. His dark eyes sparkled as he said, "You only know how to eat." Following this, there were shouts from the corridor. She was a bit surprised. She suddenly found that the corridor that she had walked through for many years had changed from Class A to Class B. She rubbed her head and said, "Don't hit me. I just felt a bit more awake, and I'll knock you out." "You also know how to faint." There was a hint of reproach in his tone as he took out cold medicine, a thermos, and a disposable cup from the bag. "What?" Luo Qingshun took the bag and looked at it. I thought you bought something delicious. Why are you drinking cold medicine? I bought it for you. Luo Qianzha looked at her with a bit of annoyance. I don't know who said last night that she wouldn't catch a cold. In the next second, Luo Qingshun blushed. Luo Qianzha's voice wasn't loud, but the surrounding people could clearly hear him. The words last night were too harsh. Everyone probably knew that they were alone together. No. Luo Qingshun shook her head and said, drink it yourself to prevent catching a cold. Luo Qianzha heard this and reached out to touch her forehead, but it wasn't hot at all. Puzzled, he asked, have you taken cold medicine? Yes, I think so. She blinked as she felt a bit guilty. Where did it come from? Luo Qianzha looked at her with a questioning gaze. Could it be that someone is trying to please you? That's right. Someone is trying to please you. My system. Chapter 604. Luo Qianzha didn't doubt her words since Sumu wouldn't buy any cold medicine for her. It should be that he was too nervous, so he was thinking too much. It's a bit bitter. Luo Qingshun stuck out her tongue as she tightly knit her brows. The next second, he took out a box of candies from his bag and handed it to her. Eat this. For simple words, but the surrounding gossips once again surged forth like an avalanche. My God, Qian! When did young Master Qian become so gentle? I've never seen young Master Qian like this before. So warm. But how many days do you think this transfer student can be young Master Qian's girlfriend? I think it'll definitely be more than Su Yanyan. Luo Qingshun automatically ignored the gossip of the crowd. She looked at the box of candy on the table and felt a bit of pain for Luo Qianzha in front of her. In the memories of the previous host, the only time she felt a bit of warmth for Luo Qianzha was when he was hospitalized for his second stomach bleed. She saw that he was lying on the hospital bed in pain and handed him a box of candy. Some people's careless actions could be remembered for a lifetime. She didn't know if it was because the memories were too touching or because she felt pain for Luo Qianzha. When she bit down on the candy, her eyes couldn't help turning red. Luo Qianzha was a bit surprised before looking at her with a bit of panic. Is it that bitter? It won't. She raised her eyes, her gaze clear and bright. He saw the faint mist in her eyes, and he couldn't help feeling a bit of pain. Damn, he really wanted to hug her in front of everyone. There was a breeze outside the window that carried the smell of snow. They looked at each other, as if there was only each other in their eyes. Xiang Tianqing had been watching them the entire time. She narrowed her eyes and already had a plan in her heart. She was supported by the entire school in Zurich. She had to have the same feeling here. A queen was a queen. She couldn't let others steal her limelight. When they went back at night, Luo Qingshun felt very energetic. She didn't know if it was because the system's medicine was too effective or she slept too much during the day. She held her phone while saying to Luo Qianzha downstairs, Luo Qianzha, do you want to eat pizza? See, after drifting off the track, Luo Qingshun saw his car fall into the water with a dong on the big screen. Luo Qianzha slowly put down the console and walked over to her. His black eyes were bottomless, and he walked up step by step with an aura that ordinary people didn't have. You don't tell me. You want to beat me up? Luo Qingshun stepped back and said, I didn't mean it. I just wanted to ask if you want to eat. Ouch. Be careful. Seeing her step back and miss the stairs, he hurriedly rushed forward and pulled her into his arms. The air suddenly became quiet, and only the ticking of the clock in the hall could be heard. Are you eating or not? The screen of her phone was still lit up, and it was fixed on the ordering interface. Luo Qianzha directly picked her up in a princess carry. His foot wasn't healed yet, but he stubbornly walked up step by step. Did you take your medicine? Seeing that she kept talking, thinking about eating junk food and not eating the most important thing, he suddenly felt a bit angry. Actually, it was because he cared for her too much that he was angry. Chapter 605. Luo Qianzha stopped in his tracks. His breathing was a little heavy. Because of her sudden actions, his heart was flipping over and over again. Luo Qingshun. His charming voice slowly sounded in her ears. If you want to eat pizza, then just order it. Luo Qingshun was surprised. Her little head suddenly looked up, and she looked at him in a daze. Why did this person suddenly change 360 degrees? But he paused before his voice returned to normal. You still have to take the medicine. As soon as his voice fell, he hugged her into the master bedroom. Then he quickly left to make the cold medicine for her. Luo Qingchun watched him leave in a panic, and her lips couldn't help curling into a smile. It seemed like Luo Qianzhe also had times when he was shy. But his love really was different from normal people's. There were times when she felt that this kind of love was very terrifying. When he only had 30% affection for the previous host, he was willing to give his life for her. Now that she had 90% affection, she had to seriously protect him. If there was no misunderstanding, she definitely wouldn't hurt him. Since Luo Qianzhe transferred to Class B became the most crowded class in the first year. Not only was there a crowd at the door after class, there were several dozen people at the end of class. The most direct result was that it was always late to eat in the cafeteria. It was no wonder Luo Qianzhe didn't like going to the cafeteria and had others bring it for him. So it was because of this reason. Qingshun, take this soup. I'll go to the second floor to get the food. There's probably no good food on the first floor. Feng Xiao gave her the hot tomato egg soup before running to the second floor. Luo Qingchun walked around the room with the soup and found that there weren't any seats, so she walked outside. The cafeteria was divided into indoor and outdoor areas. There were many seats outside, but since it was winter, there were fewer people coming out to eat. Luo Qingchun walking outside with the soup was seen by Xiang Tianqing. She looked at Su Mu, who was also eating outside, and her lips curled into a proud smile. If she couldn't approach Luo Qianzhe in Class B, she could at least approach Su Mu first. After all, this man's popularity was the same as Luo Qingchun's, so she had to suppress Luo Qingchun's momentum and have her male god stand on her side. With this thought in mind, she walked in the direction of Luo Qingchun. Luo Qingchun went up and she went down. The moment they passed each other in a blind spot, she suddenly pushed Luo Qingchun. Luo Qingchun narrowed her cold eyes and dodged quickly. Just as she was about to throw down the soup and counterattack, Xiang Tianqing grabbed the tomato egg soup from her plate and splashed it on herself. Ah! She screamed as the egg soup spilled all over the floor. Ji Haochen was the first to rush over when he heard Xiang Tianqing shout, because he was eating with her just now. She said that she was going to buy a bottle of water, but in less than a minute, she heard her scream. What is it? Ji Haochen walked over. He first looked at Luo Qingchun before gently pushing her. Then he pulled Xiang Tianqing behind him and asked in a worried voice, "Why are you like this? It's all red." Chapter 606. Luo Qingchun snorted coldly. Her eyes were cold as she looked at Xiang Tianqing. Then you know the rules now? Xiang Tianqing froze. She looked at Luo Qingchun in disbelief. After all, what she said was far too different from what she imagined. What? Shocked expression? Her lips curled into a dangerous smile as she looked at Xiang Tianqing and said, "Did my answer surprise you too much?" In less than 30 seconds, a group of people gathered around the cafeteria. Su Mu was among them. Qingchun. Ji Haochen's eyes were filled with anger, but since they were in the Yith University, he couldn't say anything. He could only say tactfully, "Tianqing just transferred here yesterday. Maybe there are some things she doesn't understand." Ji Haochen's tone was obviously blaming Luo Qingchun for bullying others. If she doesn't understand, why did she enter the Yith University? Luo Qingchun snorted. To be a joke. Ha. When the crowd heard Luo Qingchun's clever answer, they all burst into laughter. The gossips and slanders among the onlookers instantly exploded. That Luo Qingchun is young Master Qian's new lover. Why do I feel like her personality is so different from young Master Qian's ex-girlfriend? TSK, but I think she's so handsome. I want to become a fan. Who's that Tianqing? I've never seen her before. Her makeup is too thick. I don't like it. What if she has a strong background and comes back to mess with you? Can she be as strong as young Master Qian? Who knows how long that Luo Qingchun can be young Master Qian's girlfriend? If they break up, then there's nothing left. That's true. Xiang Tianqing bit her lips tightly. Naturally, She had also heard the rumors around her. She looked up and glanced at Sumu. Seeing that he was still looking at her, she continued to cry. Is it fun to bully others? Is it fun? You've already splashed me. What else do you want? What a female lead halo. She really looked like a kind girl who had been forced into a desperate situation. Every word was spoken with righteousness. But did Xiang Tianqing think that the person in front of her was still the Luo Qingchen she had trampled under her feet in a parallel universe? She narrowed her cold eyes and looked at Xiang Tianqing with disdain. It's fun, interesting. As for what I want, in the next second, she took a step forward with her right foot and somersaulted over the railing on the second floor, landing steadily on the ground below. Wow! Everyone gasped in shock. Luo Qingchen gently flipped her slightly curly hair, her hands firmly inserted into the pockets of the school's group. He raised his eyes and looked at her. If we can do it, don't talk nonsense, okay? Qingchen. Ji Haochen looked at her and said, We're all classmates. Let's stop here, okay? If I say no, what can you do to me? Luo Qingchen raised her cold eyes and looked at Ji Haochen and Xiang Tianqing standing together. There was a ball of fire in her heart. Many memories of the original owner were still vivid in her mind. Some debts had to be paid back sooner or later. No matter which parallel universe. Qingchen, a cool voice entered her ears. Sumu's face was still indifferent. She couldn't tell whether he was happy or angry, but he walked in front of her. Frowning slightly, he looked at her and said, How about just forget it? Hearing this, Xiang Tianqing's lips curled into a smile that no one knew about. Finally, he took the bait. She was really better than any other girl. She was very good at using boy psychology to make the most professional performance. Chapter 607. If it wasn't Xiang Tianqing who came up to cause trouble for her today, she could have just let it go. Although Su Yinyin, Gu Yining, and Gu Ting were despicable, she hadn't done anything to them. But if it had been Xiang Tianqing, then she wouldn't be able to get over it. Ji Haochen helped Xiang Tianqing, whose face was covered with rain and peach blossoms, down the stairs and stood beside Sumu. Xiang Tianqing was like a puppet with its strings cut. She suddenly fell onto Sumu's body. Sumu frowned, but still caught her like a gentleman. If you're ready, then come at me together. Luo Qingchen's lips curled up in a dangerous smile, her eyes cold and resolute. The whispers around them changed because of Luo Qingchen's words. Did you guys hear that Luo Qingchen defeated more than 10 people on the rooftop of the second-year building a few days ago? She was super cool. Damn, not only did I hear about it, someone even took a picture and posted it on the school's website. She's a noob, a king fighting a bronze. This person is finished. Ji Haochen heard the whispers and felt his scalp go numb. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late now because he had stood up too bravely. That, Qingchen, Ji Haochen said bitterly, violence can't solve problems. Violence can solve many problems. She raised her eyebrows. Xiang Tianqing, I'll give you 2 choices. 1, kneel down and apologize. 2, get out of the Yith University. Tisk tisk, everyone sighed. Her words made countless people's eyes pop out of their sockets. Her small figure stood in the snow, her hair fluttering when the cold wind blew. She was full of vigor. You. Xiang Tianqing's expression was ugly and her voice trembled. You. Don't go overboard. Her tears were still flowing, falling drop by drop on Su Mu's white sweater. Several of Su Mu's die-hard fans around her looked at her with extremely dissatisfied eyes. Now she had achieved her goal. On one hand, she made Su Mu hate Luo Qingchen, and on the other hand, she approached Su Mu. But if she was kicked out of school because of this, wouldn't this matter become bigger? I'm sorry, I'm this overboard. Her voice was very cold, like it was echoing the ice around her. Qingchen. Su Mu knit his brows as his eyes filled with worry. When he walked by the principal's office today, he heard them talking about Xiang Tianqing's identity. Her father was a famous real estate investor with a net worth of over 100 million. Although this net worth couldn't compare to Luo Qianzhe's family, it was much higher than many students of the Yith University. She was indeed being treated specially by Luo Qianzhe, But if Luo Qianzhe liked someone else one day, he would completely abandon her. But now that she was acting this arrogant, who knows if she'd deal with her later. Su, T. He couldn't let T this matter. But she didn't care in front of him as T. S. Chapter 608. Sumu heard this, and his body trembled. He never planned on explaining why he stood out, but Luo Qingxin's simple words seemed to express all the thoughts in his heart. He was suddenly very happy and moved, suddenly feeling that it was worth it to stand out like this. Ha. Xiang Tianqing gave a self-deprecating laugh. It really is funny. There really is no justice. You poured soup on me, and you want me to apologize. If you want me to kneel, I won't kneel. She was the only young miss of the Xiang family. She was a treasure that grew up in their hands. Why should she kneel to others? Although this move was dangerous, she used it perfectly, didn't she? Ji Hao Chun loved her, and Su Mu protected her. At least the two male gods of Class B were on her side, right? She had transferred here for less than a day, and she had obtained all these things that others couldn't even dream of. It really wasn't difficult at all. To be honest, she liked competing with others for men, stealing men from others. This was the pleasure of releasing her charm. So why wouldn't she do it? Luo Qingxun didn't give her any time to act as she said in a cold voice without any warmth. Kneel or scram. I'll give you 3 seconds. She indeed hated Xiang Tianqing the most, since she liked to make herself a little white flower that was bullied and others were evil demons. If she didn't help her, wouldn't she be letting down the crowd? Xiang Tianqing was biting her lip as she angrily roared at Luo Qingxin. Based on what? Based on what should I kneel? Based on what should I scram? This person in front of her wasn't qualified. She was just someone that Luo Qianzhe cared about during this time. She said that she didn't understand the rules, but she had spent a day learning quite a bit. Luo Qianzhe had over 10 girlfriends in just a month, and each one was ridiculously short. Was this kind of backing really reliable? What qualification did she have to make her kneel? She, Luo Qingxun, was just a little slut that was being played in the palm of someone's hand. As long as Luo Qianzhe didn't like her in a few days, he could throw her away like trash. What right did such a lowly person have to make her kneel? Luo Qingxun smiled coldly and instantly thought of a series of insulting lines. She wanted to say, because I'm the eldest daughter of the Luo family. But after that, Luo Qianzhe's figure appeared in her mind. He had never told anyone that she was his girlfriend, probably because he was afraid that she wouldn't like it. She suddenly felt that it was quite nice to have such a stubborn young man by her side. At least she was touched. At least she felt at ease, and at least she felt warm. Why should I? She smiled coldly and looked at her ferocious face. 10 words. Do you want to hear them? Everyone stared blankly for a moment. They held their breaths, wanted to hear what Luo Qingxun had said. Her lips curled as she revealed a faint smile. Because I am Luo Qianzhe's girlfriend. Clap, clap, clap. In the next second, a burst of crisp applause sounded. A familiar figure walked out from under the pear blossom tree not far away, his eyes full of affection. His hands were in the pockets of his school pants, and a few snowflakes fell onto his chestnut curls. He was wearing a white sweater and a brown coat. The corners of his mouth curled up into an extremely faint smile. In the heavy snow, he was incomparably handsome. Chapter 609. There was another sigh. Luo Qianzhe walked very slowly, feeling like his heart was beating half a beat slower than normal with each step. Once upon a time, this scene had appeared in his dreams. Even if all the fragments were pieced together, they wouldn't be as touching as her words. Because I am Luo Qianzhe's girlfriend. He felt that he could remember these words for the rest of his life. The sky was filled with snow, and she was casually standing in the snow, creating a very beautiful scene. Sumu slightly knit his brows. He wanted to say something, but Xiang Tianqing spoke first. Ha, she said while laughing. Zhe, how embarrassing are you? You've lost all your face. Based on what do you want me to kneel? Based on what do you want me to scram? Based on what do you say that you are young Master Qian's girlfriend? How embarrassing. Did you hear that? Listen up. Young Master Qian said that you aren't his girlfriend. Luo Qianjia firmly stood by her side and narrowed his cold eyes. That's right, she isn't my girlfriend. Luo Qianjia, are you here to cause trouble? She lowered her voice and moved her lips, looking dissatisfied. But in the next second, he rubbed her waist and said, she's my wife. Hiss. At this moment, there was a series of sighs in the surroundings. Luo Qingshan had a stunned look as if she was saying, why didn't I know that I'm your wife? The surrounding air was as silent as a painting. After 5 seconds of being frozen, the onlookers gradually began to whisper, God, wife. What is this wife? Young Master Qian has never made a public promise about who his wife is. Did I hear wrongly? You didn't hear wrong. My heart is about to jump out. So handsome, so handsome, so handsome. I don't want to say anything else. His boyfriend power is off the charts. At this time, Xiang Tianqing's face was as pale as paper. She tightly pursed her lips, wanting to say something, but she couldn't say a single word. It's natural for you to dote on my wife. The things she wants to do, the people she wants to deal with. As long as she's happy, there's nothing I can't do. Luo Qian's hand tightened. Su Mu slowly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He did not know why, but at this moment his heart was incomparably calm. This was most likely because Luo Qian treated her differently. In the next second, his eyebrows moved slightly. He put his hands in his pockets and looked at Luo Qingshan. Thank you. Thank you for understanding him. Thank you for knowing. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and walked into the crowd. He didn't care about the rumors. He just wanted to protect someone in his own way. In an instant, Xiang Tianqing lost her balance and almost fell to the ground. There were more and more onlookers and more rumors. Everyone couldn't tell right from wrong. They all stood on Luo Qianjia's side. No, even if she couldn't get her Prince Charming, she couldn't let herself lose face like that. She bit her lip as she looked at Luo Qingshan and said, You're strong, all right? There is no justice in this world. You can even do something like pouring hot soup on someone else. So what if you win? Is there any glory? She was like a righteous person standing in the snow. Every word was filled with power. Host, there's a camera behind the pear tree in the upper right corner. It captured the scene just now. Powerful, my system. If you have skills. Chapter 610. These words made her face without any blood turn even paler. She indeed didn't understand the school surveillance. Could it be that it was this coincidental? Xiang Tianqing nervously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Are simply speaking nonsense. Unhumph? She narrowed her cold eyes. I'm just saying that there are surveillance cameras nearby. How is this nonsense? Luo Qianjia also looked in the direction she was talking about. He gave a look to Liang Zi beside him, and Liang Zi nodded before running to the surveillance room. Ji Haochun awkwardly took 2 steps back and bumped into Feng Xiao, who had just charged over. When the two looked at each other, there was a trace of disappointment in Feng Xiao's eyes. She didn't say anything as she walked over to Luo Qingshan. What happened? Feng Xiao's eyes sparkled. Is there a fight? I also want to participate. With me here, why would you need to participate? Luo Qianjia narrowed his eyes as he looked at Xiang Tianqing. I'm sorry, I've never been as easy to talk to as my wife. You can wait for your family to kneel for you. As for EC, we'll make a decision after watching the video in 10 minutes. What do you think? Although his tone was asking, it wasn't a request at all. It was like a sign of danger with a terrifying aura that swallowed Xiang Tianqing inch by inch. She seemed to be frightened by Luo Qianjia's aura as she suddenly took a step back and fell into the snow. The surrounding people saw that her expression wasn't right, and they all had their imaginations run wild. The funny thing was that most of their imaginations were right. This Xiang Tianqing is suddenly this scared. It can't be that this matter isn't as it seems on the surface. I feel that it's very possible. Otherwise, why would Luo Qingshan mention surveillance? She's smashing her own foot with a rock. It can't be that this girl is acting on her own like in TV dramas, right? Luo Qianjia's phone rang at this time. His deep eyes had a faint liguang as his lips curled into a charming smile. Let's do this. As soon as his voice fell, he hung up and reached out to hold her in his embrace. Xiang Tianqing could only feel her heart pounding because she had not expected this at all. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Her mind was filled with these words, but she couldn't think of any way to solve her current situation. Luo Qingshun saw her eyes rolling, and the corner of her mouth raised a sneer. Are you very helpless now? Are you thinking about what to do? But no matter how I think about it, I can't think of a way. Her body trembled uncontrollably as she said, emotionally, Luo Qingshun, just you wait. Ding! In the next second, every LCD screen in the Yith Academy lit up. When the screen reached the 18th second, everyone cried out in surprise. And that scene happened to be Xiang Tianqing pouring the scalding hot soup on herself. Wasn't the fluidity and coordination of his movements simply perfect? I can wait for you. Luo Qingshun raised a brow as her lips curled into a dangerous smile. I'm just afraid that you can't wait for yourself. Xiang Tianqing was already burning with rage, and her pale face was incomparably red. She had never been humiliated like this in her entire life. Chapter 611. In the end, Xiang Tianqing left the crime scene in disdain and never came back to school again. Luo Qingshun was Luo Qianzhe's only wife, so her position in the school could be said to be rising. Adding in the handsome appearance of fighting 1 against 10, many passers-by turned into fans. Feng Zhao's impression of Ji Hao Chun wasn't as good as before because of how he helped Xiang Tianqing. Gradually, the number of times she turned her head decreased. The school days gradually became dull, but the days at home the daily matters were Luo Qian. Don't come into the bedroom without saying a word. You didn't close the door, you can't blame me. Actually, she didn't know that he had secretly hidden a key. Wife, do you want to eat pizza or barbecue tonight? Luo Qianzhe, don't call me wife. You said it yourself, because I am Luo Qianzhe's girlfriend. I'll take it back now. A certain person slammed the sofa against the wall as his lips curled into a faint smile. Sorry, there are some words that can't be taken back. Wife, are we going on a trip? No. Wife, let's skip class tomorrow. No. Wife, why did you secretly talk to Sumu today? What do you mean secretly? I did it in broad daylight. A certain person took her in his embrace and said, Then can I hug you in broad daylight in the future? No, I don't care. He lifted her off the ground with a pampering smile on his lips. However, in these warm days, there was finally a dispute on a certain night. A small dispute. The reason was still the word wife. Luo Qianzhe, can you not call me wife in the future? She knit her brows and said, At least don't call me that in front of the teachers. She wasn't worried about anything. She just didn't have any impression of Luo Qianzhe's past and the previous host's memories. He indeed wasn't her little brother. But who was his identity? Why did the Luo family hide his identity? She had to figure this out as soon as possible. There were too many rumors in the school, and if it reached her parents' ears, it wouldn't be a good thing. What are you worried about? He frowned, feeling slightly uncomfortable. Naturally, he knew why she didn't want him to call her that. It was related to the family and their reputation. However, none of this mattered to him. Her being by his side was the most important thing. I'm worried. She blinked and began to talk nonsense in a serious manner. If Mom and Dad find out, it won't be good. Mom knows. What? Mom has always known. Luo Qianzhe softly sat down on the sofa with crossed legs and said with a serious look in his eyes, Luo Qingshun, I think I know what you're worried about. Every girl had the greatness of being a mother. If they were really together, it would be impossible for them to have children if they were to get married. Was that what she was worried about? He guessed that it was probably the case. Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. Looking at his serious expression, she immediately shook her head and said, It's not the reason you think. I just feel that as an elder sister. So what if you're my elder sister? He domineeringly raised his right hand and pulled her little head towards him. At worst, we won't have children. Oh my God. Luo Qingshun's inner OS. I knew he would say this. He really is a fool. Chapter 612. It wasn't just mothers who were great. Every father was also great. If he wanted to be with her, it was equal to losing the qualification to be a father. But he didn't hesitate at all In short, do you agree or not? Luo Qingshan saw that reasoning didn't have any effect, so she directly went for it. I don't agree. His expression changed slightly as he gave a soft snort with a proud look. But actually, he still wanted to pamper her and agree to her request. Luo Qianjia? She pursed her lips and said, "Didn't you say yesterday that you like shrimp dumplings? I'll buy it for you." This black-bellied little brother also liked delicious food, so it was fine to bribe him once in a while. "Humph," he said in a soft voice. "If I really liked it, many people would send it to me with a single call, then find someone else to send it to." Since he wasn't moved by force or persuasion, Luo Qingshan had no other choice. Give up, give up, give up. Don't. In the next second, he exerted a little force, and she fell steadily into his arms. There was a trace of pampering in his voice as he tightly hugged her. "Of course, what my wife buys is different from what others buy." Luo Qingshan heard him say this and was a bit stunned. After all, for someone with his personality, it was rare for him to compromise with others. Kuh. Luo Qingshan gave a soft laugh before reaching out to pat his head. "Good." As soon as her voice fell, she forcefully broke free from his embrace. She jumped up and stuck out her tongue. I'll go buy it now." "Don't. I'll promise you, all right?" He looked at the clock and said, "It's 8. Don't go out." "No." Luo Qingshan said in a daze. "You have to fulfill the conditions of the exchange. Then I'll go with you." "No." She came forward and softly shook his arm. "Young master, your wife will buy it for you." Luo Qianjia heard this and was frozen in place. She looked at him in disbelief and said, "What did you just say?" "That." In the next second, she picked up her phone and wallet and skipped towards the entrance. As she walked, she didn't forget to say, "I won't repeat myself." Bang! Then there was the sound of the door closing. He looked at the door and smiled from the bottom of his heart. It felt good to be pampered by her once in a while. It was so nice to have her by his side. However, he would never have imagined what kind of danger she would have to go through to buy dumplings in Xilongding. Wang Dumplings was a very famous dumpling restaurant in S City. It was a very simple restaurant. It was open until midnight, and there were many people lining up every day. Because the apartment was located in a high-end residential area, Wangjiao was located in a more mixed downtown area. It was already 8:30 p.m. when Luo Qingshan arrived by taxi, but there were still many people waiting in line. She took a number plate and waited leisurely at the door. There were 2 long food stalls next to Wang Jiaozi. They were open until very late every night. Commonly known as the Sleepless City, when she wanted to call Luo Qianjia, there was a familiar voice that entered her ears. "AI, isn't this Luo Qingshan?" Xiang Tianqing was wearing a short black lace dress with heavy smoky makeup, as well as a woman's cigarette in the corner of her mouth. Luo Qingshan knit her brows and slowly stood up. Her cold eyes narrowed as she looked at the 7-8 people behind her. 2 little delinquents, and the rest were delinquents. Chapter 613. Luo Qingshan didn't know that her call to Luo Qianjia had already connected. He picked up the phone and said hello twice before feeling a bit of unease in his heart. After that, he picked up the car keys on the table and ran downstairs. At the same time, in front of the West Dragon Ting Wang Dumplings. "You dare talk about father's woman? You don't want to live anymore." The man standing beside Xiang Tianqing suddenly took out a 10-centimeter long knife from behind him. He placed one hand on Xiang Tianqing's shoulder and shook his foot as he said, "If you want to die, father will send you to hell. Big brother Go is mighty. Big brother Go is mighty." Instantly, the little brothers behind him raised their hands and swore like they were protesting. Luo Qingshan narrowed her cold eyes and looked over the man in front of her. He had 7-8 black studs in his ears and one on his lips. His hair was green and yellow, and his eyeliner was thicker than a girl's. His hands and neck were full of scrap metal, looking like he was the big brother. She gave a soft snort as she looked at Xiang Tianqing with a look of ridicule. Really a match. It was a simple word, but Xiang Tianqing's expression changed in an instant. Her eyes were filled with anger. That kind of hatred seemed to overflow in an instant. If it wasn't for Luo Qingshan, she would still be the Xiang family's young miss who didn't have to worry about food and clothing. She wouldn't be a punk girl who was touched by this dirty man. Luo Qianjia was indeed very skilled. Just a few phone calls and her family collapsed. Her father drank and gambled all day, and her mother ran away with another man in less than half a month. Their money was gone, and they didn't even have a home. Doing all of this was as easy as blowing off dust for Luo Qian. Big brother Go, didn't you want me? She bit her lip and leaned her 2 lumps against Chen Go. After rubbing against him a few times, Chen Go couldn't resist anymore. He picked up the knife and slashed the chair in front of him in half as he angrily roared, "Scram if you don't want to die. Today Chen Go, will start a massacre in the West Dragon Tingwang village." In an instant, the originally bustling street fell silent. The crowd saw someone take out a knife, and they all ran as far as they can fear. In less than 10 minutes, the entire street was empty. Chen Go had some reputation in West Dragonting. Although he was just a gangster, he was quite ruthless when he did things. Luo Qingchun. Xiang Tianqing looked at her newly done nails and said with a smile, "I'll give you 2 choices, either kneel or die." When she said this, her heart was incomparably carefree. Once upon a time, she had humiliated her in front of so many people. Now, she could finally take revenge. It was her. It was this person in front of her who had ruined her family. She had said that she would not let her off. Now, even the heavens were on her side. She was actually alone in front of him, with no one around her. Unfortunately, I don't want to choose between the two. In the next second, her eyes were filled with extreme danger as she looked at Xiang Tianqing's group and said, "Attack together." The Taekwondo belt that was exchanged for 500 exchange points really was worth it. She seemed to have used it many times already. Chen Go saw this outstanding but immature-looking girl speak in such an arrogant manner, and the veins on his face popped out. Chapter 614. Go bro is mighty. Go bro is mighty. There was another wave of mechanical voices. "Go bro, let the 2 of us go first." 2 delinquents chewing gum said with disdain. "She bullied sister-in-law Tianqing. We'll take revenge for sister-in-law." They didn't need Go Bro to come out to deal with this kind of people. The 2 of them were more than enough. To be a delinquent, they still had the basic skills. "Okay, you 2 go." Chen took a deep puff of his cigarette and said with a wretched smile, "Let Go Bro see if you've improved recently." Xiang Tianqing's mouth raised a complacent smile, and she was already standing on the side with the attitude of a winner. In the next second, the 2 delinquent girls rushed up with an imposing manner. The moment they rushed up, they didn't forget to shout with their own sound effects. "Ah, you're overestimating yourselves." In an instant, Luo Qingshun jumped directly behind the 2 of them. Her left and right hands smashed down heavily on their necks at the same time. Ouch! The 2 delinquents screamed in pain, their eyes rolled back, and they fell directly to the ground. This fight, the whole process, took less than 3 seconds, so fast that Chen himself was stunned. His mouth was opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed in. "I advise you to fight together. The chances of winning will be higher." Her eyes were slightly red, and the faint smile on her mouth was like a flower in hell, blooming. Xiang Tianqing took a step back in fear, and her face gradually turned pale. That day at school, she saw Luo Qingshun jump from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor with one hand, and finally land steadily. At that time, the people around said that she could fight 1 against 10, but she didn't believe it at all. How was that possible? She looked so weak in the past, as if she could be easily defeated. But just now her speed was too fast. She was so fast that they couldn't see what she did, and the 2 people who rushed up had already fallen to the ground. At this time, Chen face was very bad. He looked at the 2 delinquents twitching on the ground and felt a little guilty. After all, he had been in the underworld for many years. He could tell whether the other party had any skills or was difficult to deal with. The little girl in front of him looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. She was wearing a moon-white sweater, and the tiger head pattern on the front of the sweater was a huge contrast. "Brother Go, she's too arrogant." Xiang Tianqing saw that Chen was a little hesitant and hurriedly urged him. She had always been in the position of a fisherman reaping the benefits. Whether it was Chun Erga's death or Luo Qingchen's death, it was a good thing for her. Of course, she hoped that Chun Erga would kill Luo Qingchen. This way, Chun Erga would go to jail and his money would all be hers. She could still make a comeback and become a rich young lady, a princess, become the queen. With this thought in mind, she even stuck her thighs to Chun Erga's body. Her mouth opened and closed, using all her charm to seduce him. Chun Erga finally couldn't stand it anymore. He shouted at Luo Qingchen in front of him, "Today, Brother Go will take your life." With such a little seductress by his side, he absolutely couldn't retreat. He must show his masculinity. He fiercely gritted his teeth and said to the group of people who stretched out their hands, "Pull out your knives and chop this little b** tch to death. If she dies or is injured, it's all on Brother Go." As soon as his voice fell, he rushed the 10 centimeters long knife towards Luo Qingchen. Chapter 6:15. In the next second, Luo Qingchen helplessly shook her head, the corner of her mouth slightly raised. "If this is a competitive game, you must be a bronze." As soon as her voice fell, she lightly jumped, stepped on his outstretched hand, and directly jumped onto Chun Erga's shoulder. In an instant, she twisted her feet towards his head, and only the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Chun Erga's whole body turned 360 degrees and heavily fell to the ground. His face was mercilessly stepped on by Luo Qingchen's foot, and only his incessant screams and shouts could be heard. "Ouch! Ouch! Hurry up and attack Brother Go." The few hooligans standing beside Xiang Tianqing looked at each other and finally decided to raise their knives and rush towards Luo Qingchen's direction. After all, their boss was under her foot. If they ran away, they would not be able to survive in West Dragon Gang. Luo Qingchen raised her eyes and kicked Chun Ergu to the front of the first hooligan. His body was unstable, and his foot accidentally hooked Chun Erga's body and directly fell down. The few hooligans behind rushed up and slashed wildly. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes, and her right foot mercilessly kicked one of them in the chest. The moment he flew out, the remaining 2 hooligans stopped waving their knives. Their legs trembled, and their eyes were full of horror as they looked at Luo Qingchen. "Heroine, spare my life, spare my life. Heroine, hit gently, don't hit my face. It seems a little too late." Luo Qingchen's eyebrows moved slightly, and her right foot slightly lifted, directly kicking the 2 hooligans to the ground. At this time, a group of delinquents had been dealt with by her. Xiang Tianqing was the only one left. "Luo Qingchen, what do you want to do?" Xiang Tianqing's face was as pale as paper, and the group of people who were originally arrogant fell to the ground. Didn't she come to take revenge on her? How could she let her gain the upper hand again? "This question seems like it's not the first time you've asked me." She raised her eyes and coldly said, "I don't want to give you a chance to choose now." "No," she gritted her teeth and said, "this is a lawful society. If you kill me, you'll go to jail. You're the one who started the trouble. You're the one who said ruthless words." Luo Qingchen's mouth curved into a dangerous smile and looked at her and said, "You have so many people against me. If I accidentally killed you, it should be considered as self-defense." Xiang Tianqing retreated while trembling. Do you really think you've won?" "She's as He's S with a domineering backflip. He aimed a heavy kick at his head. Another scream was heard. This time, Chun Ergu rolled his face and completely closed his eyes. Looks like this time, he was completely knocked out. "Luo Qingchen," Xiang Tianqing's voice sounded again. At this moment, she was holding a reflective long knife in her left hand and a gun full of bullets in her right hand. She roared with all her might, "Die!" In the next second, she only saw a flash of white light in front of her. She used her hand to block it, and then, bang, a loud noise resounded. Chapter 6:16. Space and Time Freeze. She called out these 4 words in a choked-up voice. "Ding! 500 exchange points has been taken." Successfully exchanged for space and time freeze, one-time use. But host, it's too late. After that, Luo Qingxuan felt the warm blood on Luo Qianzhi's back in this frozen space. It seemed like the bullet had already entered his body. What do I do? Her voice was trembling and a bit panicked. This was her first time being stuck in frozen space and time, and she couldn't find a way. She had to calm down. She had to calm down. In an instant, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and said to the system, telekinesis, ding, 500 exchange points has been taken. Successfully exchanged for mind control, one-time use. In that instant, the gun in Xiang Tianqing's hand was controlled by Luo Qingxuan's mind, and the gun was aimed at her abdomen. She didn't aim at her heart because death wasn't enough to eliminate the hatred in her heart. Going to jail should be the final fate of this kind of person. Host, there are still 30 seconds. Quickly, give me the hemostatic powder and gauze. Ding! The hemostatic powder and gauze are in the host's right pocket. In this situation, the system didn't talk much, because it knew that she was very panicked. Luo Qingxuan took the hemostatic powder and scattered it all over his wound before wrapping it up as quickly as possible. The bullet was still in his body, and she didn't know if it hurt any important organs, so she could only stop the blood from flowing too quickly. Host, time is up. Pung! There was another gunshot. Xiang Tianqing had shot herself in the abdomen and fell to the ground with a look of horror. Wasn't she shooting at Luo Qingxuan just now? Why did she shoot herself in the next second? No. Impossible. So painful. So painful. Why was it so painful? Who could save her? Xiang Tianqing was lying on the ground with her abdomen covered in blood. Her eyes were staring right at Luo Qingxuan as blood came from the corner of her mouth. Luo Qingxuan gritted her teeth, not caring about Xiang Tianqing at all. She pursed her lips and looked at the pale-faced Luo Qianzhi in front of her. His eyes reddened, and his heart felt terrible. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I made it in time. He gently shook his head and tried his best to stay awake. He looked at her and said, I said I would protect you. In the next second, he hugged her with all his strength and held her firmly in his arms. Luo Qianzhi. She closed her eyes and said in a trembling voice, Don't die. You won't die. He seemed to answer very softly, and in the next second, he no longer had the strength to support his body. His vision turned black, and he lost all his strength. If there was a person, he would give up his life for you unconditionally. Then he must love you very much. In the long corridor of the hospital, the operating lights were always on red. Luo Qingxuan clenched her fists tightly. Her heart was in a mess. The doctor hurriedly came out of the operating room and looked at her. Miss Luo, the operation was very successful. The bullet has been taken out. However, due to young Master Luo's excessive blood loss, 3 bags of blood plasma were used during the operation. Now, there is no blood of this type left in the stock. This hospital was the Luo family's hospital. Everyone was very nervous that Luo Qianzhi was injured. Then what do we do? Luo Qingxuan pursed her lips and said, Take me to see him first. At this time, she could only see that he was still alive. Only then could her heart calm down. This kind of feeling, only the person closest to her in the hospital could feel it. Chapter 617. Luo Qianzhi was lying in a single luxurious intensive care unit with a pale face, but there was no pain in his eyes. However, there wasn't a trace of pain on her face. Her long eyelashes fell quietly on her cheeks, as if she was asleep. The hospital has the most advanced equipment. You can donate blood as long as you lie on the bed next to him. The doctor said with a frown, but there is something that young Miss Luo needs to know. What? She saw that his expression was a bit serious, and her heart was in a panic like it was in her throat. Normally speaking, direct family members can't donate blood because it is easy to cause complications. He paused before continuing, but considering young Master Luo's urgent situation, we can only... It's fine. Luo Qingxuan looked at Luo Qianzhi lying on the bed before turning to say to the doctor, We aren't related by blood, so you don't need to worry about this. The hospital should have the blood type of everyone in the Luo family, so you can't ask me. In that instant, The originally motionless youth's fingertips twitched slightly. The doctor was stunned as his eyes filled with disbelief. He quickly replied, "Yes. Of course, you should know that as long as it's related to the Luo family. Even if you know, you should say that you don't know." Luo Qingshun looked up with a unique aura. "Yes, yes, yes, we know." The doctor quickly put away his expression and respectfully said to Luo Qingshun, "Young Miss Luo, please come this way." The Luo family's methods were stronger than any other large family. There were few people who knew about this. After working for the Luo family for so many years, naturally he understood. Lying on the bed, the cold needle was inserted into her veins, making her heart unconsciously skip a beat. Closing her eyes, her mind was filled with the image of that arrogant youth. He was always everywhere, using the most overbearing method to protect her. He had never let her suffer a single bit of harm. She suddenly felt that it was great that she wasn't his blood-related big sister. She never thought that after taking a bag of blood, she would fall asleep in a daze. It was like someone had softly touched her forehead. The fingertips were cold, but the palm was warm. She knit her brows and suddenly opened her eyes, seeing Luo Qianzhou with a pale face. "God, Luo Qianzhou, you're awake?" Luo Qingshun was stunned. She sat up and looked at him. "You woke up too quickly." Cough, cough. His pitch-black eyes flashed with a light, and the corner of his mouth raised into a meaningful smile. "Because I have my sister's blood in my body. Naturally, I recover quickly." The girl in front of him would never know how excited he was tonight. She was in a daze, but she was instantly woken up by the words, "We are not related by blood." "Ah." Luo Qingshun was slightly startled and looked at him in disbelief. "Elder sister." This was the first time he called her sister since they came to this plane. Did he change after being shot? After a long time, seeing that he was still standing, she hurriedly reacted and said, "Why are you still standing? Lie down." Did he really think that he was an invincible Iron Superman? How could he still walk around after being shot for less than 24 hours? Dong. In the next second, he directly pressed her against the wall on the hospital bed, his slender fingers lightly touching her lips. In an instant, he closed his eyes and kissed her without a word. Chapter 6:18. At that moment, Luo Qingshun felt her mind turn blank. Her heart was like a little deer, wildly beating. So it was the 10% affection that he never gave her. In the end, it was still the word big sister. However, his ears were too sharp. Did he really hear what she said? Although she had a high IQ, this was just her guess. The ambiguous smell in the air mixed with the alcohol. She blinked and looked at Luo Qianzhou's face that was as pale as paper, breaking free in worry. However, she never thought that in the next second, his right hand would pull her directly into his embrace. Inch by inch, the kiss became more serious. It was as if he wanted to use all his strength to kiss every inch of blood in her body. "Luo, woo." She wanted to say something, but she found that the other side domineeringly took her tongue. He sucked, entangled, and alternated. After a while, he was unwilling to let her go. He leaned his chin on her shoulder and took quick breaths. Are you all right?" She patted his head with a bit of pain as her eyes misted over. "Big sister, your kissing skills." His voice filled with pampering sounded. "It really isn't that good." He was still disdaining her. He was clearly enjoying kissing her, and he wasn't embarrassed to disdain her. So angry, but she had to keep smiling. "You like calling me big sister that much now?" She carefully protected the wound that he had just had surgery on as she looked up with clear eyes. "Didn't you dislike this word?" "Because I know that you are my big sister." Luo Qianzhou's lips curled as his eyes filled with determination. Such important words, he definitely didn't hear wrong. Luo Qianzhou with strong hearing. She pursed her lips and said, "Lie down first, and I'll tell you what I know." Luo Qianzhou's head was covered in a bit of sweat. Kissing her just now had taken all his strength. There was a pain in his back, but it couldn't compare to the warmth in his heart. She was still able to easily tug at his heartstrings. "So guess, who are we?" "We are our parents' children." She looked up and looked over his expression. After all, Luo Qianzhou had been pampered since he was young. For as long as the original owner could remember, She had never seen her parents scold her little brother. Is it important? Luo Qian's heart ached as he stroked the arm that had been injected with a needle. Whether it is me or you, we'll call our parents mom and dad in the future. In the next second, she immediately understood and blushed. You're thinking too far ahead. Could it be that big sister doesn't want to marry me? Luo Qian's lips curled into an evil, charming smile. You have no reason to reject me now. In the past, although he liked her and cared about her, there was still a barrier in the depths of his heart. She was his flesh and blood, and he could not get over this hurdle. But now the heavens seemed to have given him a great gift. She wasn't his sister. She wasn't related to him by blood. Perhaps it won't be me rejecting you in the future, but rather our parents rejecting you. Luo Qingshan held her chin and said, Your identity shouldn't be normal. Big sister's words mean that I'm not our parents' child, right? His dark eyes trembled as a deep look appeared in his eyes. Chapter 619. Luo Qian just slightly knit his brows as he fell into deep thought. Since he was young, his position in the Luo family had always been supreme. Actually, he also felt it was strange. No matter how arrogant he was when he was young, his father never said a word to him or hit him. So, wife, who do you think my birth parents are? Luo Qian patted the bed twice and gently said to her, Sit up, I want to hug you. He had been seriously discussing things, but now he was talking like a crazy wife pampering demon. Luo Qingshan was a bit surprised. She almost couldn't react to the sudden change in address. But she still obediently sat down on the bed because if she didn't take the initiative, that overbearing youth wouldn't ignore his wounds and take the initiative to hug her. Thinking of this, she should take the initiative. Luo Qian took her waist, looking very intimate. She took a deep breath and threw away the ambiguous thoughts in her head. She rationally analyzed. We both know the power of the Luo family. Not only in S-City, the Luo family has power all over the country and the world. If they can make them say you, that person definitely isn't simple. It's better if that person doesn't appear. His cold lips rubbed against her ear as he said, I think this is quite good. You don't want to know who they are? She pursed her lips as she asked this. I don't want to. Luo Qian's voice was filled with pampering as he said with a faint smile, God finally gave me such a big gift. I'm afraid that if I'm greedy, he'll take it back if he's unhappy. Luo Qingshan heard this and felt her face turn a bit hot. This so-called little brother in name, he really knew how to say sweet words. Just like Luo Qian's hospitalization, Luo Wenfeng angrily intervened. Everyone in the West Dragon Church other than Xiang Tianqing had disappeared. No one knew where they went, and no one knew if they were dead or alive. As for Xiang Tianqing, because she was sent to the hospital too late, one of her legs was crippled. Luo Wenfeng didn't let her disappear. Rather, he sent her to prison. She was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder. Of course, life in prison was not something that a normal person could survive. Just when Luo Qingshan thought that things had calmed down, Luo Wenfeng asked them for a family meeting. She and Luo Qian never thought that this simple meeting would change the lives of the two of them. Qianzhe, Dad needs you to go with me to X country. Luo Wenfeng looked at him and said, The Luo family has a very big project in Country X. It's very important to me. Luo Qianzhe looked at Luo Qingshan before saying, All right, when will we depart? 3 days later, Luo Wenfeng adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and said, Time is tight. This project is very important. The earlier we go, the better. Luo Qingshan leaned against the wall of her bedroom. She was slightly flustered. Logically speaking, since the favorability level had reached 100%, her main mission could be considered completed. You shouldn't be so flustered. Knock, 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 come in. Kacha. Luo Qianzhe closed the door behind him and walked in wearing a robe. Are Dad and Mom asleep? There was a familiar shower gel scent in the air. She naturally knew who this person was. Chapter 620. Luo Qingshan was scared by his sudden action. She pursed her lips and said in a nervous voice, Anyway, I'm with Dad. I'll definitely be back soon. Luo Wenfeng's ability was obvious in the industry. He never wasted a single minute on useless things. I know. He softly hugged her and said, but I'll still miss you. He would miss her, want to kiss her, and want to hug her. Luo Qingxun's brows trembled. This was her first time being this close to him. Luo Qingxun in front of her was covered in shower gel, and his lips were a bit red. The corners of her mouth curled up, carrying a soul-stirring smile. Then, do you want me to go with you? Luo Qingxun said. Actually, it's fine if you talk to Dad. Woo. He hesitated a bit before shaking his head. The more important the matter, the more dangerous it is. I don't want you to go. Luo Qingxun knit her brows. Luo Qianzhe could probably feel what she could feel. This was Luo Wenfeng's first time taking Luo Qianzhe on a long trip. Properly speaking, even if it was an important project, he wouldn't have Luo Qianzhe go with him. This time, it really was a bit strange. He saw that she was a bit stunned and softly pinched her nose. Relax. I'm going with Dad. How could there be any danger? But I'll still miss you. What do you think we should do? Luo Qianzhe didn't want her to be worried, so he deliberately kissed her and said, how about? There was a dangerous look in his eyes as he approached her bit by bit, making her ears turn red. What? Luo Qingxun unconsciously moved behind the bed and said in a daze, I can give you a candy. After saying this, she took out a candy from the top shelf of the bedside table and placed it in his palm. Eat the candy when you miss me. That way it'll be like I'm by your side. As soon as her voice fell, she felt that her words were a bit stupid. It was probably because he was so close to her that she was too nervous, but I don't want to eat candy. In the next second, his lips suddenly kissed her, and he said dotingly, I want to eat here. Luo Qian. It was another round of forceful kisses. She subconsciously struggled for a while, but under his ferocious attacks, she completely fell for him. Halfway through the kiss, he suddenly thought of something. He let go of her and said, Wife, forcefully kiss me as well. Let me have a taste of what it feels like. Luo Qingxun was seriously panting. As soon as she left the passionate kiss, she heard Luo Qianzhe's words that made her blush. What? She pursed her lips and turned her head away in embarrassment. I don't want to. She was a soft and adorable girl, not a domineering and overbearing queen. Host, you could be a little overbearing sometimes. The system's voice suddenly rang out, startling her. You go away, you don't peep. Go away, go away. Huh? The system mischievously gave a mechanical voice. What is it? You don't like taking the initiative, so I'll take the initiative. He said with a gentle smile. Why are you suddenly so angry? Luo Qingxun raised her right hand and lifted the blanket to push Luo Qianzhe onto the bed. She blinked and said, If you run now, you might still be able to make it. Chapter 621. Of course. Luo Qingxun suddenly stood up and sat down on the sofa on the side with a pillow. She said with a faint smile, I'm not sure. As an underage girl, wasn't she scared? After all, she wasn't 18 yet. Even if they weren't in a messy love, it was still a forbidden love. So my family's wife is this shy. He narrowed his eyes, and after eating the candy beside him, he slowly walked towards her. He leaned over and kissed her. The sweet taste of milk candy swallowed her taste buds inch by inch. This kiss was so sweet and gentle. In the end, Luo Qianzhe suppressed the desire in his heart and firmly carried her back to the bed. He placed a kiss on her forehead and said, When I come back, I'll tell Mom and Dad about us. This was a promise, an eternal promise. 3 days later, Luo Wenfeng set off with Luo Qianzhe. When sending them off, Hua Yingyu's eyes didn't seem right. She had tears in her eyes, but she kept enduring them. I'll be leaving first. Take good care of Qingxun. Hua Yingyu wanted to say something, but she only said a few words in the end. It's really good to have you in this life. Luo Qingxun felt that there was something missing from this conversation, but she couldn't react at that moment. Luo Qianzhe's eyes had been on Luo Qingxun the entire time. When he had to turn around, he unwillingly looked away. However, his feet stopped once again at the entrance. The next second, he suddenly turned around and rushed forward to hold her tightly in his arms. In front of his parents, he used all the strength in his life. He didn't say another word, but all the words were contained in this hug. That kind of determination, that kind of passion. Parting, Even this short parting made his heart filled with reluctance. Luo Qianzhi was very clear that his love for the girl in front of him had reached an abnormal level. For the entire afternoon, Luo Qingchun listlessly looked at the blue sky outside the window. She didn't know if the plane to X country would fly over her head. However, at 10 o'clock in the evening, the news broadcast made her world suddenly jump at this moment. The eye-catching title, the lamenting voice, every word collided with her heart. The plane from S city to X country at 2:30 this afternoon has been confirmed to have lost contact an hour ago. We are currently using all methods to contact the plane. The cup in Hua Yingyu's hand fell to the ground. Luo Qingchun turned to look into her panicked eyes. Mom! She tried her best to calm her breathing as she made a final confirmation. Qianzhi's plane, it can't be. As expected, we can't escape. Hua Yingyu suddenly fell to the ground. The glass shards of glass cut into whites and sticky as blood. At this moment, she suddenly remembered the conversation between Luo Wenfeng and Hua Yingyue when they parted. He only said to take care of Qing Chun. He didn't say wait for me to come back. Don't tell me. You knew something would happen? She rushed to Hua Yingyu and couldn't help but clench her hands tightly. Why? Mom, tell me. Your father is a very stubborn person. Hua Yingyu looked up as tears came out of her eyes like pearls. She bit her lip and said in a trembling voice, no one can stop the things he has decided on. Perhaps this was the so-called fate. Everyone had a different goal in life. Some did it for food, some did it for love, some did it for power, and some did it for money. Chapter 6:22. The Luo family didn't live in S country during the previous host's grandfather's generation, but rather in X country. Luo Wenfeng was the #1 official of X country, existing to protect the Yuan family. Although X country wasn't a large country, it was still a large piece of land. Oil extraction, ores, crystals, and all natural things were inexhaustible. But the internal struggles of the kingdom were more terrifying than one could imagine. The old King Yuan Shua's 12th wife was very narrow-minded. She only wanted her son to become the ruler of the country, so she used all kinds of methods. Finally, after a series of careful plans, there were only 2 princes left in the palace. One was her son Yuan Baihui, and the other was the queen's son Yuan Qianzhi. That year, Princess Meina took control of all the power in the palace, and Luo Wenfeng had to leave X country with the queen's only son. 16 years later, Princess Meina finally died. Her son Yuan Baihui was addicted to drugs and beauties, deciding to sell his country in exchange for a peerless beauty from a neighboring country. This matter finally reached Luo Wenfeng's ears. There were some things that he had to take back for the old king. One had to have a proper bloodline to be a king. And Hua Yingyu didn't know all of this. She only knew that Luo Wenfeng was entrusted by an old friend to bring back a child. So you lived in X country before? Luo Qingchun didn't know much from Hua Yingyu. Something happened to the plane they were flying to X country. It definitely wasn't a coincidence. Her father had been in the business world for many years and had eyes all over the world. How could he be plotted against like this? Impossible, impossible. Yes. Hua Yingyu lowered her eyes glazed over. Mom, get up first. Luo Qingchun took a deep breath and slowly helped her up. She bit her lip and said, I don't think it's that simple. Since Dad could bring Qianzhi back from X country, he wouldn't let this happen. But the news. Hua Yingyu seemed to have heard some hope as she suddenly grabbed Luo Qingchun's hand. Daughter, you've been smart since you were young. Are they really not dead? Luo Qingchun's hand that was holding the disinfectant was stunned. She took a deep breath and said, Luo, Qianzhi wouldn't leave me. She was so sure of these 9 words, but they only lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, the black box of the plane flying to Country X was found. No one on the plane survived. Luo Wenfeng and Luo Qianzhi's phones. She knew that he probably couldn't call her, because as long as he was still alive, how could he bear for her to worry so much? It was snowing heavily that day, and her heart was as cold as ice. The memories that had been sealed away became eternal at that moment, and what flashed through her mind the most was his domineering appearance. It was incomparably. System, right? She still have the system. The system doesn't know what the host wants to know. Why? Why don't you know? The space is time. Of. After a long while, when the system's voice rang out, she slowly pressed down on her heart. He's alive. It was good that he was alive. At least she could still find him. At least she could still wait for him. From the beginning of time, there was finally a time when she was standing there, waiting for that black-bellied and gentle youth to slowly return. She thought that if he didn't come back, he would at least tell her that he was safe. But he didn't. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Chapter 623. At the same time, on the X-country's border, Luo Qianzhe was currently half lying in a mechanical chair, surrounded by precise machines. Ding! Memory removal has succeeded. Next is memory transfer. Sir Luo, young Master Qianzhe won't forget everything after his memories are removed. There are only emotions and not memories. The person wearing the special agent uniform on the side continued. In other words, he will look at his emotions as a bystander. This includes family, friendship, and love. Very good. Luo Wenfeng looked at the memory box and said, then the old king's memories should be able to fuel his feelings for the X-country. Yes, he said with a nod. When young Master Qianzhe wakes up, Sir Luo's plan can be carried out. Luo Wenfeng pushed up his golden-framed glasses as a faint mist appeared in his eyes. Other than his identity, Luo Qianzhe was the son he had spoiled since he was young. But he couldn't ignore the old king's will and the princess' request. Yuan Qianzhe had to take back the throne that belonged to him. After Luo Qianzhe woke up, his eyes were filled with anger. His first words were, "Where is she?" "She is in the royal palace." "Your Highness Qianzhe, everything is prepared for the plan. If I succeed, can you give her things back to my mom? If your Highness succeeds, everything in the X-country will belong to you. I think that, dear Dad, you probably don't know what I'm talking about." Luo Qianzhe took a deep breath and put his hands in his pocket. His eyes were ice cold as he said, "Let's go." "Your Highness Qianzhe." Luo Wenfeng seemed to understand the meaning in his words and said with knit brows, "During the plan, all of our phones will be tapped. For their safety." "I know." He looked up with cold eyes and slightly clenched his fists. Luo Wenfeng would never know that no matter how many of his emotional memories were taken away by the ice-cold machines, he was able to continuously spread out from his heart, only more and not less. Because the girl he loved had already broken through all boundaries, it was a kind of perverted obsession. However, the process of taking back the throne wasn't as smooth as imagined. The left faction, the right faction, and the center faction. Every force had to have a complete plan before they could be defeated one by one. If he took a wrong step, he might lose everything. In the end, Luo Qianzhe won the hearts of the people, and Yuan by Hui's influence in the royal palace collapsed. This huge struggle for power in the palace lasted for 3 whole years. "Qianzhe, let me go." Yuan by Hui kneeled on the ground, kowtowing again and again. She kept muttering, "You can be the king if you want. I was forced to do it. I only want beautiful women. I only want pleasure. I don't want power." Hiss! In the next second, the revolver's muzzle steadily fired a shot at his heart. Blood splattered everywhere in the palace hall. Luo Qianzhe looked up with cold eyes and said in an ice-cold voice, "I left her for 3 years. Your life isn't worth it." Then it was Luo Qianzhe's coronation ceremony. Only after everyone had left did he reveal a faint weariness. "Your Highness Yuan, everything is finally over." After 3 years of fighting for power, Luo Wenfeng looked much older. But his heart was calm. The X-country was still there, the bloodline was still there. 16 years ago, he left the X-country with the will of the old king, waiting for this day of triumph. He was worthy of his country, worthy of his king. Chapter 624. Luo Wenfeng would never know that he had no way out after doing all this. King, he didn't care. Power, he didn't want it. The memory surgery shouldn't be wrong. Luo Wenfeng looked at him with knit brows. Shouldn't you want this country the most in your heart? The air was silent, and after a while, he gave a self-deprecating laugh. There was a faint mist in his eyes as he said the words he wanted to say the most in his life. "I want Luo Qianzhe." He thought that after coming back from the X-country 3 years ago, he could tell his parents what to say to his parents. He thought that as long as they came of age, he would be able to marry her as his wife in a legitimate manner. However, it seemed that the plan couldn't keep up with the changes. Luo Wenfeng's eyes sparkled, and after a while, he said, Qingqin's status isn't enough to become the ex-country's queen. He didn't know what position the words Luo Qingqin had in Luo Qianzhi's heart. The memory surgery actually didn't take away his feelings. What a frightening obsession that was. Ha ha ha, Luo Qianzhi said with a cold laugh. Other than her, I don't want anyone else. City. On the first day of school, at the Noble University, when Luo Qingqin stepped into the school, her eyes couldn't help turning red. 3 years, an entire 3 years. The long wait that didn't have an end. What are you thinking about? Su Mu's voice slowly sounded, making her thoughts float even more. If it wasn't for the word system, she wouldn't have been able to keep waiting in this kind of space and time. Luo Qingqin gave a soft laugh and shook her head. Nothing. I thought that you wouldn't study anymore. Su Mu's eyes had a faintly Guang look as he looked at Luo Qingqin in front of him. She was still that sweet girl, but her eyes, which were originally as clear as water, were covered with a layer of dim mist. It was as if nothing could enter her heart anymore. She was very calm during the plane crash. She came to school the next day, not crying or making a fuss. It was like Luo Qianzhi wasn't related to her at all. She was that calm. There's something I want to do that can kill a lot of time. She pursed her lips and walked towards the medical faculty. Sumu narrowed his eyes and looked at her back. In the end, he didn't stop her. He was the same as 3 years ago. Even if she didn't have Luo Qianzhi by her side, it was impossible for her to have Su Mu. After registering, she went to the acting department to look for Feng Xiao. Superstar, are you done yet? Let's go eat. Freshman performance. Feng Xiao waved the name list in her hand and said, I've already signed up to sing. You have to help me. Help you with what? Luo Qingqin chuckled. I don't participate in this kind of thing. Accompany me. Feng Xiao pushed her arm and said, I know you play the piano well. In the past 3 years, other than immersing herself in her studies, she had also spent a lot of time practicing the piano. In the future, he probably wouldn't need to exchange for piano skills after completing missions. After all, the jumping of the black and white notes had already been engraved in his heart. Let's see if you can pass the primaries. Luo Qingqin said with a soft laugh. Let's go. Qingqin. Feng Xiao suddenly thought of something and handed her the morning paper. Xiang Tianqing committed suicide in prison. Luo Qingqin took the newspaper and looked at the blurred corpse. Chapter 625. Yes. Shi Guang replied softly before passing the newspaper back to her. He deserves it. After reading this heartwarming article, I have something personal to ask you. Speak. You. Why didn't you give Sumu a chance? Feng Zhao's gaze trembled slightly. Some people will never return. In the future. All right, Feng Xiao. Luo Qingqin pursed her lips and interrupted her. I just like to wait. That's all. It's fine. Feng Xiao furrowed her brows. Looking at how Shi Guang was behaving, she did not say anything else. Some people could wait endlessly, no matter how long it was or how much time passed. Even if she were to cry, she would still be as stubborn as ever. The moment they arrived at the basketball court, they were surrounded by a group of people. Feng Xiao tugged at Shi Guang's hand. Let's go be a spectator. Luo Qingqin could not help but find it amusing. In the past, she had always been the center of attention. To think that there would come a day where she would become a spectator. Who told you to be so cocky? Is young Master Jiang someone you can get close to? Why don't you take a look at yourself? You only joined Inua after studying a little. You want to be a phoenix? Sister Wei, we must definitely teach her a lesson today. Let her know that our only love young Master Jiang fan club is not something someone like her can look down on. The scene before them was strangely familiar. A stubborn girl stood alone on one side, with a bunch of self-righteous envoys on the other. Song Lingling's voice rang out coldly as she raised her head. Don't think that I'll like anyone you guys like. The moment she said that, she turned around and walked in another direction. Trying to run, Lin Wei rushed up and grabbed her arm, pushing her to the ground. Song Lingling bit down on her lips as she slipped and fell onto the basketball court. Luo Qingshun was stunned. Seemed like if she did not have the system, back then, she would have ended up in a similar state as Song Lingling. Lin Wei snorted coldly. I'm telling you, stay away from young Master Jiang in the future. Don't dirty his eyes with trash like you. What a joke. Feng Xiao muttered. You're talking as if you're so good-looking. The woman in overalls over there. I dare you to say that to your sister Wei again. Damn, his hearing is so good. Your sister Wei's hearing is different from normal people like you. In the next second, Lin Wei's gaze landed on Feng Xiao. Luo Qingshun smiled and said to Feng Xiao beside her, I think you will be famous on the first day you come to Enor. Feng Xiao wasn't afraid. She stood up directly and said, You're bullying others with your power. Why don't you let the onlookers talk about it? Why do you have to say that? As soon as the words left her mouth, Lin Wei strode towards Feng Xiao. The moment she raised her hand, she was filled with an imposing aura. Bang! The crisp sound of slap did not ring out. Instead, it was Feng Xiao who forcefully grasped the hand that she was about to slap down. Sisters, let's go! Lin Wei shouted behind her, and the onlookers moved away from Feng Xiao and Luo Qingshun. 7 or 8 girls behind him rolled up their sleeves and rushed forward without saying a word. That battle was definitely a group fight. Feng Xiao, are you treating me to lunch? Luo Qingshun looked up with a smile in her eyes. Feng Xiao naturally knew what she meant. She nodded vigorously. I'll treat Miss Luo to lunch for a month. Deal. Chapter 6:26. You're overestimating yourself. In the next second, Luo Qingshun's eyes flashed with a faint liguang, and her figure flashed behind Lin Wei. With a beautiful shoulder throw, she threw her body towards the crowd that was rushing forward. In an instant, a group of people screamed and fell to the ground. So cool. The voices of the surrounding onlookers sounded, and a few girls unconsciously clapped. Lin Wei was obviously quite embarrassed, but this shoulder throw seemed to have hurt her waist. Sister Wei. One of the lackeys trembled and said, This doesn't seem to be easy to deal with. We didn't go together just now. If we went together, we would probably win. I'll be responsible for grabbing her hair. I'll be responsible for grabbing her legs. After everyone discussed and stood in formation, they shouted ah and rushed forward. In the next second, Luo Qingshun's cold eyes narrowed. Her figure flashed past the first person's left hand and then firmly grabbed her right hand, and with a flip, she cried out in pain. Luo Qingshun chuckled and said, Sit tight and support her. Xiao, that person was pushed by Luo Qingshun and directly thrown towards the rest of the people, and another row of people neatly fell to the ground. Ouch! A wave of tragic cries sounded one after another. Lin Wei still wanted to say something, but the voices of the surrounding onlookers sounded. Young Master Jiang is here. Luo Qingshun looked towards the direction of the voice, and her heart trembled for a moment. Who is that? Luo Qingshun turned to look at Feng Xiao and asked. Feng Xiao shook her head and said, It's also my first day in school. I don't know much about him. You guys don't know young Master Jiang. A science fan at the side said seriously, He's the school hunk of Inua Academy, a sophomore in the acting department. He's super handsome and has a lot of fans. And Lin Wei is the leader of his fan club. Jiang Yijuan's hands were in his pockets. He had a mischievous smile on his face. Even his thick eyebrows were rippling gently. His fair skin set off his light pink lips. His handsome and prominent facial features were flawless. Qingshun, Feng Xiao saw that she was in a daze, so she hurriedly pushed her hand and asked with concern, What's wrong? It's nothing. The moment she saw Jiang Yijuan, her gaze gradually calmed down. Although he was very handsome, he was still far from that person. Lin Wei looked as though she had seen her savior. She rushed towards Jiang Yijun and said with an aggrieved expression, Young Master Jiang, that person she hit me. At this moment, Song Lingling stood up and looked at Jiang Yijuan. It's my fault. I'm sorry that I took the wrong book when I went to the library to return it. Originally, I thought that this matter was over. I didn't expect that after a summer vacation, someone would still be thinking about it. Song Lingling's voice was soft, but there was a tinge of stubbornness in it. Young Master Jiang, don't listen to their nonsense. Lin Wei said with a tear-stained face, They're the kind of girls that you hate the most who are clingy. Jiang Yijuan, the school hunk of Yinhua Academy. He had never had a girlfriend since he entered the academy, and his character was top-notch. He once said that he hated clingy girls the most. The girls he liked were usually cold and aloof. It seemed that Song Lingling was very suitable. Song Lingling then turned to look at Luo Qingshun and said, "Thank you." Luo Qingshun didn't say anything. She just nodded and planned to turn and leave. Bah, colluding with each other. Lin Wei sneered. Do you think that young Master Jiang will notice you like this? Chapter 6:27. At that moment, Luo Qingshun felt like she had gone from being a spectator to being the center of attention. Feng Xiao quickly leaned over and whispered, "No way. Why do I feel like I've seen this scene before? No, my ass." Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes at Jiang Yijun and replied, "I don't even know him." There was nothing wrong with that. She really didn't know who this person was. Lin Wei was like a deflated balloon as she stood there, not knowing what to do. Luo Qingshun looked at her and felt the awkwardness in her eyes. Jiang Yijuan slowly walked forward, causing a heated discussion in the surroundings. A freshman? How does she know young Master Jiang? Looks like a freshman. She's so pretty. I'm so jealous. She actually caught young Master Jiang's eye. Speaking of which, I haven't seen young Master Jiang have a girlfriend in such a long time. Luo Qingshun seemed to have gotten used to this kind of gossip. After all, she was someone who had experienced it before. Do you have time to talk alone? Jiang Yijun's voice was very gentle and had a touch of coldness as he said this very polite sentence. Make it short. Luo Qingshun could see from his eyes that this sentence had a purpose. But since the other party was so sincere in his invitation, wouldn't it be too unreasonable to reject him? In an elegant coffee shop, the sound of a piano flowed over like flowing water. The wind chimes at the door swayed, and the air was filled with the faint fragrance of jasmine. "Sir and miss, what would you like to order?" The waitress's cheeks were slightly red as she slowly walked over. "Ladies first." Jiang Yijun's every movement had a slight elegance, but this elegance seemed a bit unnatural. Or rather, this elegance didn't match his style of dressing. "One lemon tea. Thank you." Luo Qingshun's brows twitched slightly as she used her 180 IQ to look at Jiang Yijun and said, "You're looking for me because our mothers know each other?" Jiang Yijun was obviously stunned. He didn't expect Luo Qingshun to be able to say his intentions so accurately. "Your mother told you about me?" he asked with a chuckle. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and smiled. "No." "Then how did you know?" "I guessed." Luo Qingshun took the lemon tea from the waiter and took a sip. "The Jiang family of S City. I've heard a lot about you." "So, you know why I'm looking for you?" "Engagement?" Luo Qingshun raised her eyebrows and looked at Jiang Yijun. "After my father passed away, my mother took over the Luo enterprise. But she's a woman after all, and there are many things she can't do." Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel sorry for Hua Yingwei. She had done so much for the Luo family, sacrificing so much. "I've long heard that the daughter of the Luo clan has a higher IQ than ordinary people." "Stop, stop, stop." She chuckled and interrupted him. "I'm not interested in family marriages. Young Master Jiang really doesn't need to talk to me about this." She picked up the lemon tea and stood up. "Thank you for your hospitality. In the past 3 years, the Luo family status in S City was not as good as before because of the plane crash." She didn't care much about this, but Hua Yingwei had changed a lot. She always told her that she wanted to work hard. She wanted to work hard to hold on to the territory of the Luo enterprise that Luo Wenfeng had built and work hard to be a good wife, even if he was no longer in this world. Chapter 6:28. Jiang Yijun wanted to say something, but Luo Qingshun's figure had already disappeared around the corner. There was a touch of exploration in his eyes, and the corner of his mouth raised into an imperceptible smile. The girl in front of him was doing it on purpose, or did she really not want to marry into the Jiang family? Qingshun, why did Jiang Yijun look for you? Feng Xiao was eating potato chips while watching the game on the basketball court, and asked quite absent-mindedly, "Are the chips good?" "Not bad. That's good." Feng Xiao seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly turned to ask, "What did I say just now? You said it was not bad." Luo Qingshan chuckled and changed the topic in minutes. It was too easy to change the topic in the face of such a simple-minded person. But they didn't notice that at this time, two people on the basketball court gave each other a look. In the next second, the direction of the basketball was thrown towards them. "Careful, Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes and looked at the big bump on Feng Zhao's head. "Are you okay?" "Oh, I'm so sorry." A student wearing a basketball uniform came up. He was about 9 meters tall and said with disdain, "Who told you to be so ugly that you can't even watch basketball?" "What did you say?" Feng Xiao suddenly stood up and said with a face full of anger, "Your basketball skills are so bad, and you still have the face to hit others." "Host, be careful. The opponent is last year's youth mixed martial arts champion in City S." "Who is he?" "Lin Wei's brother, Lin Hao." Lin Hao smiled coldly, and with a hook of his foot, the basketball was in his hand. Then with a beautiful turn, it was a perfect three-point shot. "See, this is called skill." Lin Hao pointed at Luo Qingshan and said, "You should be glad that I don't hit women, or else you two might not be able to come to class tomorrow." These two people bullied his sister as soon as they entered Inua. It was simply intolerable. His mixed martial arts were super awesome, and no one could bully his Lin Wei. This smash could be considered as a lesson to him. After all, there were too many people here, and it was inexcusable for a man to bully two little girls. Luo Qingshan coldly snorted. "Lin Hao, you know him?" Feng Xiao rubbed the bump on her head and looked at Luo Qingshan in disbelief. "How can you say that you know everyone? I don't want to know such a person." She casually put her hands in her pockets, a disdainful smile on her lips as she said, "Lin Wei's brother." "Oh," Feng Xiao suddenly understood and said, "I thought it was a lunatic." "What did you say?" Lin Hao clenched his teeth and clenched his fists. "Don't force me to hit women. Even I'm afraid of myself when I'm ruthless. Your shameless sister should know how powerful our family's Qingshan is." Feng Xiao put her hands on her waist and said, "Don't think that you can take a beating just because you're tall." "Oomph, you think I'm afraid of her?" Lin Hao crooked his mouth and said, "Come at me if you have the ability. Although I don't like to hit women, bitches deserve to be hit." "System, what's my chance of winning against him?" 60%. "Too low, don't fight." In the next second, Luo Qingshan yawned, looked at Lin Hao in front of her, and said, "One should reciprocate politeness. Don't you think so?" "What do you mean?" Lin Hao looked at the person in front of him inexplicably, not knowing what she meant. Chapter 629. Lin Hao knit his brows and pretended to be calm as he said, "A freshman? What are you showing off for? Our Luo family owns 20% of the Inua Board of Directors." She gave a cold laugh as she looked at Lin Hao in front of her. "How many steps do you think it would take for me to make you and your little sister disappear from this school?" "Luo family?" Lin Hao was stunned. S-City's Luo family. Although because of the plane crash, the Luo family's influence wasn't as great as before. But a centipede didn't fall over. It was very easy for this kind of family to deal with a small fry like him. The surrounding students also began to whisper to each other, "Luo family. So she's the Luo family's young miss. No wonder she's so arrogant. They really are a match. I'm jealous that she can go out with young Master Jiang." "What are you jealous of? She probably doesn't care about young Master Jiang. After all, that person back then." "That's right. The dead are important. Let's not talk about it." "What kind of person is that? Don't just leave things hanging. Anyway, if you were in the Inua school back then and you met a man named Luo Qianjia, you would know that it would be hard to find someone more handsome than him in this world. Enjoy your last university years." She gave a cold laugh as she took Feng Zhao's hand and turned to leave. Since there was such a large family behind her, why wouldn't she use it? Why would she use force when she could solve things with power? 60%, if she was injured, it wouldn't be worth it. Jiang Yijun, standing not far away, couldn't help curling his lips into a beautiful curve. She really was smart. But in the next second, his expression changed. Luo Qin, wasn't he her little brother? The man who died in the plane crash. Lin Hao awkwardly stood there. He couldn't bring himself to call Luo Qingshan's name. But he finally got into a noble university. How could he just leave like this? That afternoon, right after the anatomy class, Lin Wei appeared at the door of the medical classroom. Seeing Luo Qingshun holding a scalpel, she took a step back in fear. Hey, she pursed her lips and said in an unwilling voice, sorry. Feng Zhao's head injury isn't healed yet. Why should I accept your apology? She gave a shrug as she looked at Lin Wei in front of her with a chuckle. I will pay for her medical expenses. Our Luo family doesn't lack money. Lin Wei was also a rich young lady since she was young. How could she take this kind of humiliation? She bit her lip and said, let's see how long your Luo family can be arrogant for. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards the stairs. Luo Qingxin's eyebrows moved slightly. She completely ignored her and walked in another direction. What he didn't expect was that 10 seconds later, Lin Wei's screams echoed throughout the building. Luo Qingxun stopped and ran to the stairs. Lin Wei was already lying in a pool of blood. However, there was no one beside her. Just as she took 2 steps downstairs, a group of girls passing by saw the scene and screamed, "Murder! Murder!" Luo Qingxun didn't have time to pay attention to them. She picked up her phone and dialed 120 and quickly walked to Lin Wei's side. Her face was very pale, and her breathing was very weak. He didn't know if her life was in danger. More and more people gathered around, and the sound of gossip rose. Good heavens! Luo Qingxun couldn't have pushed Lin Wei down the stairs, right? It can't be. Lin Wei pushing Luo Qingxun is understandable. But why did Luo Qingxun push her? Who knows? Today I heard that Luo Qingxun said that Lin Wei and Lin Hao were studying in Inua University. Rich people are like this. They like to play with power. Chapter 630. Lin Wei's injury wasn't light, but it wasn't life-threatening. When she woke up, she didn't wrongly accuse Luo Qingxun. Her original words were, although I didn't see who pushed me, there was only me and Luo Qingxun on the 3rd floor at that time. When Feng Xiao told her this, she shrugged helplessly and said, she's all brawn and no brains. But who would follow you guys to do this? Feng Xiao pursed her lips and said, Lin Wei was lucky. If she died, it would be murder. Luo Qingxun sipped her coffee and said, the problem is the person who pushed her didn't hold back. Then what do we do now? Feng Xiao leaned in and whispered, now everyone is saying that you pushed Lin Wei because of Jiang Yijun. Jiang Yijun? Her mind was spinning quickly and finally fixed on a figure. Yes, all right. Luo Qingxun seemed to have thought of something and suddenly looked at Feng Xiao and asked, last time, a group of onlookers said what kind of girl Jiang Yijun hated. Pestering. Feng Xiao thought for a while and quickly came up with 4 words. Luo Qingxun smiled and said, although I don't like to play with conspiracy theories, if someone wants to play, I'll play with her. Autumn nights were always cold and warm. After Luo Qingxun finished her last class under controversial circumstances, she walked towards the 2nd-year performance department's teaching building. Help me find your department's Jiang Yijun. He was called away. The bespectacled guy pushed his glasses and said, come earlier next time, MMP. Just as she was about to roll her eyes, someone patted her shoulder and said, you're looking for me? Actually, Jiang Yijun saw her coming up the stairs from the right and couldn't help but wonder if she would come looking for him. He didn't expect it to be true. He didn't know why, but his heart was a little excited. Luo Qingxun looked over and saw Song Ling Ling slowly walking over, so she turned her head. In the next second, she blinked at Jiang Yijun, seeing that he was slightly taken aback. There was no reaction at all. Luo Qingxun didn't say anything and directly pressed him against the wall. She cleared her throat and said, I went back and thought about what we talked about in the coffee shop last time. I still think it's a good idea. After all, we can be considered to be well-matched in terms of social status. Everyone in the surroundings was dumbfounded, including Jiang Yijun, who was forcefully pressed against the wall by her. Last time, he felt his heart unconsciously speed up at this moment, and a feeling that he had never felt before spread from the depths of his heart. In an instant, Luo Qingxun narrowed her eyes and glanced at Song Lingling. She slowly turned her eyes away, her face full of unwillingness. She saw that Jiang Yijun's ears were slightly red. She couldn't help but whisper into his ear, "It's just a show. Don't mind it." Everything was ready. Only those who were willing would take the bait. The same laboratory, the same staircase, the same dissection class. She touched her ear and heard Feng Zhao's voice. "Everything is ready." At this moment, all the LCD screens in the entire Inu University lit up. Luo Qingshun put her hands in her pockets. The corner of her mouth outlined a very faint smile, and the figure of that young man flashed in her mind. That year, he used the same method to help her deal with Xiang Tianqing. But that young man didn't know that she really missed him. She walked to the stairs and closed her eyes, which were suffused with a mist. Chapter 631. Luo Qingshun naturally came prepared. She did a backflip and landed in the middle of the stairs. She looked up at Song Lingling and said, "So it was you." Song Lingling's face turned pale. She pursed her lips and said, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." "You're indeed smarter than Lin Wei." She chuckled and analyzed as if possessed by a detective. "You've known for a long time that Jiang Yijuan likes cold and reserved girls, so you've been acting like this in front of him." "I was just passing by." Song Lingling tried her best to explain. "I didn't push you." "When did I say that you pushed me?" Luo Qingshun laughed coldly and said, "When you first had a conflict with Lin Wei, you were the one who started it." She had asked Feng Xiao to check the school surveillance camera. Although the camera's voice was very soft, it was clear that Song Lingling was the one who started it. Lin Wei had a bad temper. If someone started it, she would naturally respond. At this moment, Song Lingling's face was extremely ugly. Her white skin was trembling uncontrollably as she kept swallowing her saliva. Seeing that she didn't speak, Luo Qingshun raised her eyebrows and continued, "Everything you did was to let Jiang Yijun see Lin Wei bullying you. I saw the stubborn side of you, but Feng Xiao and I came out of nowhere. Your position has become extremely awkward. Yes, it's all because of you." When she heard the three words, Jiang Yijun, Song Lingling seemed to be unable to control her emotions. She trembled and said, "If it wasn't for you, I would be the center of attention from the library." Oh. Luo Qingshun looked as if she suddenly realized something. She looked at Song Lingling and smiled. "The matter of you taking the wrong book from the library must have been planned very cleverly." Some people couldn't see through the surface. She suspected that Song Lingling didn't have any evidence. But that didn't mean that she couldn't create evidence. Song Lingling's weakness was Jiang Yijun. She could irrationally push Lin Wei down the stairs probably, because she couldn't stand Lin Wei always being by Jiang Yijun's side. It was a good plan to kill two birds with one stone, but there were too many loopholes. "I'm the one who treats young Master Jiang the best." Song Lingling gritted her teeth. "What fan club president? What family marriage? Will you really treat him well?" "I don't know how to." Luo Qingshun shrugged and said, "But it doesn't mean that you can put the blame of pushing people down the stairs on me. Everyone thinks it's you now, doesn't it?" Song Lingling smiled coldly. Her clear eyes turned red instantly. "No one will suspect me. The young mistress of the Luo family is so powerful. Of course she would do something like pushing someone down the stairs." "Tisk tisk," Luo Qingshun sneered. "Don't tell me you're not worried that I'll record it." "What?" Song Lingling was stunned. Her face, which had gradually calmed down, turned pale again. She bit her lips and said, "You recorded it?" "Nothing." Luo Qingshun spread her hands and said, "Nothing." "Ha!" The next second, she laughed and said, "Then why are you pretending in front of me?" At this moment, Song Lingling was looking down at her from above. Her eyes were full of pride. Seeing that Luo Qingshun didn't say anything, she said even more proudly, "None of you deserve him. Only I can." Chapter 632. Song Lingling knit her brows and looked at Luo Qingshun with a confused look. Luo Qingshun pointed behind her and said, "Look behind you, and you'll know." The medical school's teaching block faced the notice board. There was a huge screen on the notice board. Usually, it was used to announce the school rules or to inform students. And now, the person on the screen was Luo Qingshun's Song Lingling. Song Lingling stood rooted to the ground, her lips pale. She trembled and said, "You schemed against me. You can accuse me openly, So why can't I scheme against you openly? Luo Qingqian's lips curled into a dangerous smile. Since you want to play around with conspiracy theories, I'll play with you to the end. Now that he wasn't by her side, she could only deal with such things herself. He didn't have to worry about her being bullied because she would defeat all the evil forces. She didn't want him to feel sorry for her. But if he could, he would miss her once in a while. Okay? You? Song Lingling raised her trembling hands and rushed down, as if she wanted to beat her up. In the next second, just as she was about to retaliate, Jiang Yijuan appeared out of nowhere and stood in front of her, blocking her way. Song Lingling was stunned. The sudden breaking almost made her lose her balance. This was probably the first time she saw Jiang Yijuan up close. Thick eyebrows, high nose, every part of him was so good-looking. Jiang Yijuan subconsciously pulled Luo Qingqian's wrist and took 2 steps back. He looked at Song Lingling and said, "If it wasn't for this good show, I might not even know your name." I'm Song Lingling." Song Lingling looked at Jiang Yijuan, who was right in front of her, a little aggrieved. She had liked Jiang Yijuan for 4 whole years, and she had never stopped. From the first year of high school to the second year, she used her entire youth. She understood Jiang Yijuan better than anyone else. She understood his tastes, his interests, and all his hobbies. She understood what kind of person he admired. He liked girls who were cold and arrogant, not good with words, and didn't like to be in the limelight. She repackaged herself step by step, turning herself into such a person so that he could take a second look at her. "I'm sorry," Jiang Yijuan said awkwardly. "I really don't remember. You said..." She paused, her voice trembling. "You like ice-cold girls, but he said with a self-deprecating smile. "I probably only found out not long ago that there is no label for liking a person shouldn't be based on his personality, but on the throbbing of that moment. You will know that you like the person in front of you. You know very well that this person will make you want to..." He kept getting closer and closer. In the end, Song Lingling's true identity was revealed. The entire school instantly felt extremely sorry for Luo Qingqian. Someone even wrote a title on the campus website. "Sorry, we shouldn't have misunderstood you." There were even some who linked her and Jiang Yijuan together. "You're the only one in our fan club who admits that you're worthy of young Master Jiang." After listening to Feng Xiao, Luo Qingqian was dumbfounded. Didn't she just want to attract Song Lingling's attention? So she pressed Jiang Yijuan against the wall. "Please, the school hunk, okay? He should be a veteran, right? How could he be so easily flirted with?"